That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn down to 1 1/4 at 326 1/4. September down to 1 1/4 at 331 3/4. December corn down to 1 3/4 at 341 1/2. March down 2 cents at 353 1/4. July soybeans up 2 1/4 at 865 1/2.
Terry, are you there? Terry? Terry?
Yes.
All right, hang tight.
Virtual visits with your doctor from the comfort and safety of your home. Visits are easy. During virtual appointments, providers can prescribe or adjust medications, review test results, coordinate additional treatment options, assess whether further care is needed, and much more. Call your primary care or specialist office today to connect with your doctor. Mercy One, your best life, our one purpose.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, I know we took a little time getting our next guest on the air, but it's well worth it because our next guest, of course, is Minky. I'm talking Dr. Terry Minky, city councilman, poet, warrior, porn star, and he joins us live on the air right now. Doctor,
Yes.
What's happening?
Well, you know, the world's a better place today than it was yesterday, and hopefully every day it will improve.
Yeah, I hope that you are in a Black Lives Matter T-shirt and headband and sunglasses, because if you're not out in the streets, you're being silent, and that's complicit with racism.
Well, I do have a Pleasant Valley awareness meeting in about 4 hours, so I guess I am doing my part.
And what are you going to do at the Pleasant Valley Awareness Meeting?
Well, you know, Sherry Oz has an agenda. I think tonight we're discussing a variety of community issues. You know, the possibility of a Juneteenth celebration was brought up. I kind of, with everything being canceled now, I'm not sure that's a good idea, and I tried to tell her that. But, you know, I think a lot of the community issues down in the Pleasant Valley area, we have a lot of cleanup we need to do down there. Mr. Halter rode through there on his bike with his lovely wife, Rochelle, and they counted, I think, 80 or 100 cars that are just sitting there abandoned up in the property. So Sherry and Cameron, you know, Big Cameron out at Chimcats.
Sure.
And they've been working on a variety of ways to see if we can get some of those cars cleaned up and make the neighborhood look a little bit better. There's some mowing issues down there, a combination of private owners and the city. The city was down there mowing and broke the equipment, so it's becoming a little bit of an eyesore. So well,
The
actually,
city broke their equipment down there?
Public Works, they do their mowing down there. Part of the mowing down there, there's some city lots that they mow, and apparently they had a problem with one of them, was what I was told. So some of the grass is getting a little long, and it's hard for the city to go out and reprimand people for not mowing the lawn when we don't take care of our own. So obviously we need to address that fairly quickly.
Now, this isn't the Flats Awareness Committee. It's the Pleasant Valley Awareness
Pleasant Valley Awareness Committee.
You know, everybody started calling it Pleasant Valley rather than the Flats because they thought Flats had a bad connotation. It didn't for me at all, ever. What the Flats meant was I can close down the bars downtown and head down to MP Brown's at 2:30 in the morning, and the party can continue.
Yep.
I had a lot of good times.
Brownie's Cafe was down there for a number of years. It was a kind of a hallmark of the community, and I know probably some things were done down there that people don't talk about. So,
well, you know, what do you want to know? I mean,
well, you would talk about
it was fun. I've taught, you know, there's older black people around that I remember from those days, and they'll even say it was fun. But you people move in and you screw everything on. Well, middle class liberals. You know, you come in. I mean, you're all fun haters.
Oh,
every single one of you are fun haters.
Yeah.
Just because a guy gets totally annihilated, takes his gun into a bar and shoots a hole in the ceiling, is no reason for the North Enders to start flittering and twittering.
Yeah, I guess there were some pretty good card games down there in some of the houses too over the years. So that's.
I only got in a time or two, got cleaned out, and went home. So.
Well, that's probably good. Good for you and bad for the people, I guess. But anyway,
well, I only had about $10 anyway.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you know.
But you know, the community is. I think the Pleasant Valley Awareness Committee has done a good job with the mural down there. We have cleaned up the H.C. Merriweather Park. Lori's brought in some new equipment down there. We are looking at bringing in a water fountain at some point, but with the virus problem, we're not doing any water fountains this year. So I think there's going to be some continual change down there, and it can only be better. There's some properties down there that we need to get a hold of and probably knock down. They don't look very good, and it isn't only in the Pleasant Valley area. I mean, obviously there's other properties. We got one over on 4th Avenue South last week or the week before that we got back because it was in bad shape and it was abandoned. And there's another piece of property a couple doors down that we're in the process of getting back to. So, if you, again, See Click Fix is a great app. If you got a neighbor that isn't taking care of their property, or if you see something that doesn't look quite right, report it, and we'll get somebody from the city out there to look.
For God's sakes, Terry, there's places like that all over town. Everybody's got a neighbor who's got tractor tires in his backyard or something, or an old car, and a bunch of a bunch of junk in general.
Yeah. Well,
you want to come over to my neighborhood? You know where I live. Come on over. I'll show you a couple of those spots right now.
I got called last week over at the pickleball courts by the hydroelectric park. We were trying to clean that area up, and they're actually in the process of hopefully eventually cleaning up that west side of the river over there. And the gentleman just west of the pickleball courts is obviously a junker. There was a stove, refrigerator, and I don't know, probably 200-300 pieces of garbage laying in his backyard. Very unsightly, and the front of the house doesn't look any better. And I turned that in on See Click Fix, but again, it's a neighbor-generated issue. You got to report it in order for the city to go out and get it. And that's one thing that I've been working with David on, is that as our people are out driving around, be it Public Works, Parks and Rec people, garbage men, cops, firemen, if they see this stuff, write it down and allow the city to be a little bit more aggressive with the cleanup. I think the neighbors will appreciate it. If you get into a neighborhood that's really bad, then obviously the neighbors aren't going to complain on their neighbor because they're just as bad as their neighbor. So it's, and again, I think it's embarrassing for the community, and we have people that come into the community and they see that stuff, and it gives the whole community a black eye.
Well, again, that's hardly isolated to a neighborhood.
No, I know it. It's consistent throughout the neighborhood.
And it's not exactly a rare phenomena to go drive down the street and see somebody with a junky backyard.
Yeah. But again, if it's a property violation, we can cite the owner and get the property cleaned up. the new process, which David talked about, his attempt to get rid of spring cleanup, as you refer to it as.
Yes.
But I think that's
I got my eye on Dr. Evil, by the way, as you know.
Yeah, you have to keep an eye on him, I guess. But anyway, I think that new project process is going to work very well. People call it in, and make the request for pickup, and they're doing, I think, 35 to 50 pickups on their recycling day. 2 guys with a truck, and they go out and pick it up and haul it away. So it's a opportunity to do spring cleanup all summer long if you have an opportunity. So,
Wow, how did you get that past Furyk?
He came up with that himself.
He came out with it.
Him and Brett Daniel came up with that because we had been advocating with the shutdown of spring cleanup this year, and we were going to push it back to the fall. And there were a lot of people that weren't very happy because they've been saving their junk, I guess. I don't know. Instead of just putting it in their own garbage can.
People do that, though.
Yeah, I know it. And, I've got a neighbor with a mattress and a whole bunch of tires laying outside of his house, too. But, I'm...
You got a neighbor in your neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. That's what I'd say. You talk about abandoned cars. I've got 2 of them in my neighborhood that haven't moved for 3 or 4 years.
Well, is it the responsibility of the neighbor, in this case you, to call or to note this on C-Click Fix or call the city or what?
Well, typically, I prefer not to do it, but if it gets to the point where it's unsightly, if there's weeds growing up around it and the windows are knocked out and the car falls down on its rims, then more than likely a call will be made. But Paige Wheeler down at the city, I guess she's working out of her house now, but, she's very familiar with my phone number and my voice, and, I've been very aggressive with this because this is something, when I got into office, it was one of my things is to help clean up some of the properties, get rid of the abandoned and blighted properties, and make the community a little bit better looking.
Well, again, have you seen my neighborhood, my street here in
Yes,
Lindley?
yes.
We could knock down a couple of those houses right now.
We got another one up in your neighborhood on Monday night, up 130 North 8th Street. We purchased that. Did get a concerned citizen that wanted to know how come we're paying $51,000 for a house that's assessed at $30,000.
Yeah, I love that the house was owned by some property group. I forgot to look. What, United Property Group?
Something like that. I don't know.
What is that? A bunch of guys with money who threw their money, who are protecting their money?
Well,
this way.
They did have an appraisal, a recent appraisal on the property that showed that it was appraised at $51,000. So.
Really?
Yep. And
you want to know what mine was appraised at?
Probably $1 million, $1.2 million.
We hit some high appraisals. I hope one of the guys from the county supervisors show up here today.
Well, I don't know, but this one was. I checked the assessor's website, and it was assessed at just under $31,000 on the county. So either the county blew it by $20,000, or this guy just highballed us on the appraisal. I mean, you don't know, but we've been buying a lot of that property up on North 8th Street for future redevelopment.
So that guy came down here and suckered the county and the city and walked away with $20,000.
Yeah,
that's pretty atypical story, really.
No, not really. It seems like the county claims that they're doing a great job on these assessments. They're doing them on a regular basis. They're using their compatibles. They're bringing in these outside groups, but on occasion, when the city's involved to purchase something that the people know that we want it, there tends to be a little discrepancy between what the people want and what the people get.
Well, Mark and Keith and those guys over there, I like them. I like them all. I always have liked those guys. But the assessments, and they would never admit it. I pounded on them when they came to the studio about wanting to reassess all these property values. I said, the purpose of this is to raise taxes. Well, no. Your assessment may go down. Probably not. So here we are with these assessed fees now, and guess what? The property taxes will go up.
Well, my assessment, I've got commercial property, obviously, at the office, and that goes up like a roller coaster. I mean, we see it go down, and it goes up. Sometimes I feel good about the assessment, and sometimes I just bite my tongue. And I know there's some other people in town that have protested their assessments, but, to me, it's the price of living in Fort Dodge is you pay the taxes, and that's what I do. So.
Well, you got the money, too.
Oh, yeah. It's just running.
You should probably pay for your entire neighborhood.
Yeah, I probably should, yeah.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, along with City Councilman Dr. Terry Menke. So, are you in favor of defunding the Fort Dodge Police Department?
Well, actually, I think if you remember just a few short months ago during the budget hearing process, Nevin Conrad and I came out in support of hiring additional police officers. So I think defunding any type of police department is a mistake. I think the people in Minneapolis obviously are dealing with a different set of circumstances than what we are. I think when you look at the record of the gentleman that was accused of murdering Mr. Floyd, I mean, he had, 18 violations, internal affair investigations.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that should have been what they call a red flag. But, I mean, I don't know, but
Now, Terry, here. If we defund the police department, we can take that money and invest it in underserved communities.
Well,
and we have just been talking about the multitude of underserved neighborhoods that we have here in Fort Dodge. So how can you argue with that particular argument?
Well, I'm a great believer in having public safety. I think providing security and the ability for our public to function and to enjoy their life without having to look over their shoulder for potential hazards all the time. Again, I think a lot of the crime that you see committed can be reduced if we have additional police officers on board. I think our police department's done a very good job. I know we've had
our police department has done a fantastic job. You don't have to go on like this. I was just being facetious with you.
No, you're just raising.
I'm just having a little fun. Here, the thing about that argument, that so-called argument I just gave you, it's not an argument. It's an accusation.
Yeah, it's a political move.
It's a ploy.
Yeah, I mean,
coming from Biden's followers. How can you even think about not defunding these horrible police creatures and giving me the money?
Yeah.
By God, that sounds pretty good. Hey, give me the money out there. Give it to me. Hey.
Yeah. No, I think Roger's got everything under control. Again, we have very little oversight of the police department as city council other than their budgetary issues, and we don't deal with personnel matters. They've got a union that takes care of that, and again, defunding anything and creating additional strife in a population that's already under a little bit of pressure, I don't think is really a conversation that anybody should have at this point.
Well, I want to again congratulate the Fort Dodge Police for their handling of a protest in our town, not last Sunday, but the Sunday evening before.
Right.
There was that memorable video of the demonstrators kneeling in front of the Warden Plaza and the police kneeling with them and reciting the Lord's Prayer. That was that hit me. That hit me hard. The only thing that hit me harder was that terrible video of George Floyd.
Yeah, that was bad.
What that sociopathic cop was thinking, I have no idea. I didn't even look like he was thinking. He was just getting off on it.
And where were his partners and his assistants? Where, why didn't somebody say something?
Well, he was a training officer. A couple of those cops had only been on the job a couple of days. But I want to tell you something. I think I said this to Irish Shivers yesterday. I've only seen that video once, and that's all I can take.
Yeah, I didn't watch very much.
And I saw the crowd around this incident, and they were all yelling at the police to let him go, and he can't breathe, and you're killing him, and on and on and on. I thought to myself, old man or not, I could not have watched that. I could not have stood on the sidewalk and watched that happen. I would have had to go over there, get the cop in a chokehold, and take him off. Now, it occurred to me just as soon as I thought that, it occurred to me that I'd be braced by the police. I'd be handcuffed, maybe even arrested. But I wouldn't be thrown on the ground with somebody's knee on my neck.
No, probably not.
No.
It was a sad situation,
No.
bad commentary, and like I said, when you got somebody with that many problems, he shouldn't have been out in the field anyway, especially as a field training officer. I don't think
I guess.
He did not set what you call a sterling example for police efficiency.
Part of your training today, we will murder an innocent man, or a guy who had, two $20 bills that were counterfeit in his pocket. Big
I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a rough situation, and again, Minneapolis is. I was born in Rochester, been to Minneapolis, lots of times. I was up there in March and got kicked out of the city because of the COVID thing, and I just.
Are you sure it was the COVID thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But, I mean, we get up to Minneapolis and go to the Mall of America, go to the zoos up there. The riverfront up there is beautiful. I read John Sanford. All of his stories are based in Minneapolis, and so a lot of these streets and a lot of these things I'm very familiar with, and I just don't see that kind of behavior as being typical. I grew up in a situation where in Rochester we had a very diverse population with a lot of the doctors at the Mayo Clinic and whatever, and so
Look, Swedes and Norwegians mixing up together is not really, like diversity.
no, that's not. But it's just a tough deal. I mean, how can you explain it? Nobody can. I mean, it was just bad. I mean, it was criminal. That's what it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So anyway.
But I didn't do it.
No, I didn't do it either. But again, these are problems we need to address. We need to talk out. And I know Charles at the thing at the stadium said that we need to get together and work. Well,
Charles at that thing at the stadium.
Well, I don't know what they call it.
I'm touched by the emotion.
Unify the community.
That was Charles Clayton.
Charles Clayton, yeah. Well, everybody knows who Charles is. But anyway,
except you.
He talks about all these things. Well, we've had a lot of activities in Pleasant Valley. We've had celebrations down there. We've had a lot of activities. We've had a lot of police officer involvement. Mayor Matt and I were down there. Ann Meyer was down there for an event. We've had community forums on the basketball court. Is it the fact we're not reaching the people that we need to reach? We had that program with APHIS and the school district this last year where we're reaching out to the young kids, that are struggling in school and starting to have problems, and they've identified if you don't get to these kids by sixth grade, you basically lost them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've got to start in the school system. And I mean, we could talk about this all day, but I've got a plan of what I would do if I had the capability of doing it. And it involves family, it involves school, it involves education. We need to provide food for these people. There's a variety of things that we can do, and they're very easy to do. But again, as you know, government moves very slowly, and the big dollar signs, there's always a road that needs to be fixed. Do you do that, or do you build a community kitchen where you can teach people how to cook healthy meals for their families? And so this is a long-term problem, but I'm glad that at least we're keeping it on the forefront of our conversation.
Or maybe we could talk about being good parents.
That would be a start.
That would be a start.
Jesse Ulrich tells me that 40% of the kids in elementary school have a single-parent household.
There's no doubt.
40%.
How does that sound like the number in your neighborhood growing up? Because it wasn't in mine.
No,
there was one family in my neighborhood where the parents were divorced. And by the way, the youngest kid was all screwed up. He was mean and nasty, and I'm sure I don't know where he went, but I'm sure it wasn't anywhere good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Terry Minky's been our guest, poet, warrior, porn star, and we'll be back. You will be back, won't you, Terry?
Yes, I'm planning.
All right, that's it.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 3:33. The news is next.
More choices, more money. Bayer Plus Rewards is a new kind of rewards program, one that lets you call the shots. Choose from our broad portfolio of high-performance products. Earn more money on the eligible products that are right for your farm. Use our new portal to see your purchases, track your rewards, and decide how you want to use them. That's how we're putting more control in your hands. That's the plus. Sign in and earn big with Bayer Plus Rewards. Visit mybayerplus.com to sign up today. See program terms and conditions for full details.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Check it out, Limu. Got a brand new motorcycle jacket and matching leather pants. Now let's go for a ride and tell everyone that Liberty Mutual customizes their motorcycle insurance. So you only pay for what you need. Oh my gosh, this leather does not breathe well. You can't suffocate in leather, can you?
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
Save today on your next project with 11% off everything. Now at Menards. Menards has what you need to start and finish your projects. Plus, you'll save 11% on all of it. Menards offers contactless pickup. Order and pay for your items online, and we'll load your order into your vehicle with zero contact. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through June 13th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A former Webster County sheriff has passed away. Chuck Griggs passed Tuesday at 80 years old. He served in the position as sheriff for over 20 years after he was elected for the first time in 1980. In the early 80s, Griggs helped to create the Webster County Crime Stoppers program. He also was instrumental in establishing an enhanced emergency dispatch system in the late 80s. Prior to becoming sheriff of Webster County, he worked in the Fort Dodge Police Department for over a decade. He also was a U.S. Navy veteran. A member of the baseball program at Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll has tested positive for COVID-19. The results were revealed last week. Officials in the school system at Kemper did not indicate whether the person with the virus is a coach or player in the program, but did say that the infected person was self-quarantining. Kemper parents were notified of the positive result late last week via email. Baseball and softball season is slated to start next week around the state, and the Iowa Department of Public Health has issued guidelines for baseball and softball teams to help prevent the potential spread of the virus. In those guidelines, the recommendation is made that any member of the team who is within 6 feet of the person with the virus for over 15 minutes should put themselves on self-isolation for 2 weeks. Public health officials in Buena Vista County announced the county's 4th COVID-19 related death on Tuesday. County health officials did not release the age of the person who passed. Buena Vista County Public Health is urging vulnerable residents to limit activities outside their homes. They also continue to stress taking appropriate social distancing measures, additional hand washing, and the disinfecting of frequently touched surfaces. The Calhoun County Board of Supervisors released a statement Wednesday morning regarding temporary safety measures they are continuing to implement at the courthouse. The County Board of Supervisors has decided to continue with a soft open of the Calhoun County Courthouse through June 26th. County departments will be open by appointments only during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. They ask that visitors please use the south entrance to the courthouse when entering for their appointments. During this period, the doors will be locked at the courthouse. Business will be conducted by appointment only. Drop-box use and electronic contact is encouraged. Upon arrival, customers will call the respective office that they need to be admitted to. Visitors must leave immediately after their business is complete. Community and Family Resources, or CFR, has their Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training coming up this Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. Here's Mickey Shubin from CFR on what that training will entail.
2 full days of kind of intense material, but you really get a chance to openly talk about how to talk to somebody if you feel like they are having thoughts of suicide or hurting themselves.
Shubin says the training will equip attendees with different tools and teaches them how to approach people who are suicidal.
You get some tools on different ways to approach somebody. It's really helpful to be very direct.
Shubin went on to talk about another thing that those that attend will receive.
The trainers will be giving everybody a comprehensive list of local resources, and then also some of the national, state, all of that type of thing. Anybody that attends the training will have that list.
For more information, contact CFR at 515-576-7261. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 70 degrees right now. The weather forecast for today and the rest of the week. Sunny today. Yeah, we're at our day's high. Going to be windy. That's no surprise to you if you've been out and around. Overnight clear with a low of 54. Pretty cool for this time of year. Tomorrow it'll be sunny with a high of 81. Friday sunny with a high of 86. Saturday mostly sunny with a high of 79. On Sunday it'll be sunny with a high of 78. Monday partly sunny with a high of 85. On Tuesday it'll be sunny with a high of 87 degrees. Right now again mostly cloudy, 70 degrees and windy here in Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneral.com. www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Well, our town lost a friend last night. Former Sheriff Chuck Griggs died at the age of 80. I talked with his daughter, one of his daughters, last night, and of course she was very upset. And there's a lot of people in town that are upset over hearing of the loss of our friend Chuck Griggs. I didn't know Chuck very well. I spoke with him several times briefly when I was in the radio business, of course, and he would. I would go to him as a source of information or for a report of some kind on what was happening in our town and county at the time. Sheriff Griggs did a lot of things. I advanced the sheriff's department quite a bit. And if you want to say he made a mistake in his life, you better point your finger at me, too, because I've made a couple of mistakes in my life. But overall, Chuck Griggs was a solid guy, and we're all sorry here to hear that he has passed. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 2:40, 70 degrees at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn down 1 1/4 at 326 1/4. September down 1 1/4 at 331 3/4. December corn down 1 3/4 at 341 1/2. March down 2 cents at 353 1/4. July soybeans up 2 1/4 at 865 1/2. August up 1 3/4 at 867 3/4. September up a penny at 869 1/4. November up a half a cent at 877. July wheat closed up 1 3/4 at 506 1/4. Soybean meal up 170 a ton at 288.80. June live cattle up 27 cents at 96.60. August down 130 at 96.50. August feeder cattle down 157 at 132.67. September down 140 at 134.15. June lean hogs down 22 cents at 47.85. And July down 17 cents at 52.80. I'm Dwayne Murley.
During this challenging and unprecedented time, Gunderson's is here to serve with expert guidance and understanding to each family and their unique needs. We provide options for funeral, cremation, memorial, virtual, and webcast services, either presently or at a later date. We understand that grief does not wait. We are trained to help you walk this path to bring comfort and support. Every life deserves to be recognized and celebrated, whether it be together or afar.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
And we're talking with Dr. Perry Ming. Dr. Perry Ming.
Well, you're at that age, I forgive you.
Oh, gosh, yes, I certainly am. Anyway,
I think after 35 years or so, you'd know my name.
I would. Dr. Terry Menke, who's a city councilman, poet, warrior, porn star. And apparently he's not down with the cause. We have to explore his racism here this afternoon and help him out because he's somewhere working rather than being out in the street in a black T-shirt and headband and screaming about police brutality, because that's the only way. That's the only way that we know that you're genuine in your opposition to murder.
Yeah, keep that up, and you're going to have a fun ride home tonight. They're going to be waiting for you out on 4th Avenue North.
Oh, no, I don't think so. You got more money than me, so they might be waiting for you.
No.
No.
Well, I did want to touch on the fact we did have a council meeting Monday. I was down front with Kim. They, moved us down off the upper tier. So Kim now and I sit out on the floor with the rest of the people. So
did you touch knees?
No, he was over on the left-hand side.
All right.
I was on the right, depending on which way you're facing. I was on. But they gave me 2 microphones, so I don't know if they wanted me to broadcast the stereo or what. But I surrendered my microphone.
They didn't want me to broadcast in stereo.
But anyway, we had a lot of things go through Monday night, nothing really controversial. We had the asbestos abatement for the Wakanza Annex. That went to a group out of Des Moines, and we had 8 bidders for that project, actually, which was a pretty good deal. And so they will start fairly quickly, and then they're going to be done by the end of the year. And then after that, then we'll move into the demo process. So even though this is drug out a little bit, by the end of the year, you're going to start to see some work in the downtown area. Hopefully they can continue to move over to the Warden and do some work over there if and when that everything's going to be done. We did have the facade program for downtown. That's $1 million.
Yeah, that's a great program, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
it was pulled off the agenda. Apparently one of the owners downtown had some questions that weren't answered in a timely fashion, and so it was pulled, but it will be put back on the next agenda. I don't think it will be a major, hiccup. I think the process will continue. We had two different groups that applied for that job. It was just over $800,000 to do the work on that block, and so that was 50% grant money, 25% was TIF funded, and 25% by the property owners. So everybody's got a stake in that. And Main Street's been posting a lot of those pictures on their Facebook page. And if you get a chance, I encourage you to go on the Main Street Facebook page and do the survey. They're looking for some input as far as what the citizens would like to see downtown. And there's some good questions there that they would like to have answered. And they are working on the Main Street or Central Avenue downtown project. They're looking at a master plan for downtown. My suggestion would be to take those bumps out of the corners, but they're not going to listen to me. But I think just clean.
Why aren't they going to listen to you? You're wise. You were wise beyond all other beings. What's the problem with getting rid of those bumps?
Yeah, the bumps on the corners are supposed to reduce transit time down for people to get from one side of the street to the other. I think if you actually timed it, it would be like maybe a tenth of a second. You get there.
Well,
quicker.
we have such huge crowds downtown anyway.
Well, we're hoping. Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake, get over that. Can you get over that, you guys? Downtown's just going to explode.
Well, we hope it continues to grow. There's been a lot of improvements down there, and I think if you get Chris on, she can tell you about the businesses. I mean, there's a couple hundred businesses downtown right now, and numerous people, 1,500 or so that work downtown. Then on top of it, the people that live down there. So there's a lot of activity downtown. You just don't see it because you're kind of like a hermit. You just go to your little.
That's not true. I'm just a couple blocks from downtown.
Yeah.
I walk down there regularly.
Yeah. Well.
You know what I see?
Brass monkey?
Nothing.
Oh.
I've seen the monkey before.
I bet you have.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. We did change we had a reading to change basically the stimulus tax abatement program. We're going to now allow commercial property throughout town instead of just the blighted areas to take advantage of the tax abatement numbers that we've been using throughout town, but that's going to be good through the end of the year, and that was part of the stimulus program that was put together by David and staff and then rammed down our throat. Yeah. So anyway, that was approved on Monday night, and that was, I think, the start of a way to help businesses and people in the community recover. The $25 water bill thing will be coming out in this next bill, I think, in a couple different.
What a stimulus! $25, huh?
So I encourage you to take that $25 and spend it locally.
Yeah, I'll give it to the church.
Yeah, good. That would be good. The church would appreciate that. Yeah.
They'll probably give it back to me and say, "Here, you need it worse than we do."
Yeah, first you'd have to find a church.
Oh, what? Are you heating up a seat over at the Lutheran Church yet? Which one do you go to? That's right. What do you go to? St. Olave's, St.
Olave's. We kind of darken the doors there on occasion. I can admit that I'm
very often, no.
No. Okay.
I bet I've been to St. Olaf more this year than you have.
Well, actually, that may not be true. I was over there giving a talk here not too long ago.
But you don't know for sure, right?
Probably not. Yeah. We also had one of our debt service levy short-term loans that we took $100,000 for acquisition and demolition of abandoned buildings, which is always good to see. I always like to see money in that account because there's always something we need to do to knock that stuff down. So I thank Vicki and the group over there that looks at all that. Chad, I think he's involved too. But we did have also 3 houses. You're going to see one on Fifth Avenue South, the 1500 block on the south side of Fifth Avenue South. That'll be demoed very shortly. And then 512 South 16th and 513 South 15th Street have also been slated for demolition. It will be done very shortly. So that's always good to see those abandoned houses getting taken care of.
Right.
The only problem is I wish we had some infill property that we could put back in there so people could have a nice place to live. But, we're working on that with the Rural Housing 360, but COVID kind of killed that presentation. That's going to be coming up later this summer. What else happened? We had...
Well, I'd have to say that all police officers are not like that Chauvin guy or whatever it is up in Minneapolis. All property owners are not the same either. We have some very good, very respectable landlords.
Yes, we do.
And I know them, and I consider them friends, and I respect them. And we have some real creeps who just mine the city. And mainly they're from out of town, and they want to come into Fort Dodge because they think it's dirty Dodge and buy up a couple of crap houses and mine them for all they're worth and then sell them to the city or the county or whoever's paying these outrageous prices after the houses have just about fallen in on themselves.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem we're running into is that some of these houses that are rental properties are being sold on a contract to buy by the owner of the business, so
right.
they end up not being inspected on a routine basis, and those are the ones that fall in disrepair. And that's actually the house on 4th Avenue South. That was a situation over there where the house was sold by the landlord to their tenant. The tenant could not afford to
on a contract that never works, and the landlord knows it.
Yeah, and the landlord...
He's going to come in and take possession of it in 3 or 4 months again, keep the down payment that he got.
Yeah.
And those folks will be out in the street broke.
Yeah, but again, we've got 4,000 rental properties in Fort Dodge, and I would hate to guess of the 6,000 houses that are supposedly owner-owned, how many of those are actually on contract. So... and that's something we may have to address in the future, but I don't know, legality-wise. I mean, that's something for Mark Crimmins to look at and see if there's some way that we can start looking at some of these properties and see if there's some way to verify that they actually have the money to afford them before they actually sign on the dotted line.
You talking about Crimmins or Andy Fritz? I can never tell those two apart.
No, that'd be Mr. Crimmins.
Crimmins, okay.
Yeah, no, Andy was there. He was there. He sat right behind me, actually. He was there. Yeah, on Monday night. So
you sound uncertain.
No, he was there because I saw Mark go over and talk to him after the meeting, so I know that.
Was it kind of a double vision thing?
No,
Did you think you were having a stroke or something?
No, I think Andy's hair is just a little bit grayer than what Mark's is.
I haven't been able to see Andy now for a while because of this doggone COVID virus.
Yeah.
And of course, before that, he was off the council. But
yeah, well, we had a few people in-house on Monday night. There was probably a half dozen or so, a couple of McClure people. Chris Patrick was there. Tammy was there.
Was Richard there?
No, Richard was not.
Richard Higgins wasn't there?
No, Roger was in the back. Eric Anderson was there. Most of the staff attended by Zoom meeting. I couldn't tell who was really there on the Zoom, but I know they were there, and David was asking for questions, and nobody was raising their hands. So it's kind of a strange way to run a meeting, but again, it's better than sitting at home and looking at a computer. So... yeah. So anyway, we got...
Depends on what's on the computer.
Yeah, well, that's true. I'm talking about Zoom meetings. They're a great thing.
Zoom meetings? Oh, God.
Yeah. So we've got a couple other things going. The hospital applied for I guess the city applied to the Iowa Economic Development people for a community block grant for Trinity. I call it Trinity. It's Unity Point. Then the Iowa Economic people gave them a $4,200 grant, which was kind of a token amount. I didn't really understand why it was so little, but they are going to buy 3 carts for supporting medical supplies. So that was a 2-item transaction on the consent agenda. And Nevin, of course, had to abstain because he's on the board out at the hospital. And even though $4,200 is not a lot, he still decided he didn't want to get involved in that.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, and a couple other things we did.
Nevin's a pretty good guy.
Yep. We had the second reading of an ordinance that's going to address alcohol use at special events, especially in downtown. That probably affects you quite a bit.
Not anymore.
It's going to just allow a little bit more flexibility when you have an outdoor event like the Country Jam or regular.
I was going to say, what were you guys cooking up now? You were going to limit beer sales to 3
I'm
each?
going to make it a little easier to handle. I think the way it was before was a little confusing, trying to meld the city ordinance along with the special permits, and now the ordinance will change where if a special permit is given, then the alcohol use is a little bit more flexible.
See, this used to be a great town. We'd have hookers downtown sitting in front of the Hotel Eilers, and we had 2-3 strip joints, and 51 bars, and I don't know, the prudes and came in and
ruined it for you,
just
didn't we?
ruined. Yeah, they kicked all the hookers out of the park. You know,
Yeah.
I used to like to go down and get really hammered and talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
And,
I hope your mother's listening.
Oh, Mom knows these things.
Yeah.
Mom knows these things.
Yeah. And we did have one more thing that we talked about, the first reading of an ordinance that's going to address parking on the right-of-way. There's a lot of people that pull up on the curb out in front of their house, and that's not really allowed. It wasn't specifically addressed in the ordinance, so the police officers were having a little bit of a hard time enforcing that. So now it'll be part of the ordinance where if you park on the right-of-way, they can actually ticket you or tow you if you don't move the thing. So they've got a list of about 14 different places where you can't park, which is a little bit excessive, but I guess most of them are common sense.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got a lot of things going on: demolition, acquisition, cleaning up the community. See, click, fix. Again, if you get an opportunity to report a nuisance, feel free to do it. The city is very responsive to those. If you see something that isn't quite right, don't be afraid to let somebody know.
Well, I let somebody know through See, Click, Fix that the alley behind my house looks like the Grand Canyon at times.
Yeah, that's been a real issue in the last couple of years. We've probably heard more about alleys than just about anything, even more than streets, it seems like, here recently. We did have Brett Daniel went out because we don't budget really for alley repair. And this last year, we've kind of asked and got, I believe it was like $250,000. They have a lot of ground-up concrete from all of our sewer work that we've been doing.
Right.
So Brett went out and actually did a survey of all the alleys in town. I don't know how many miles there are, but I'm sure there's quite a few of them, and has identified them, and they're trying to get some of those alleys taken care of. The biggest problem is if you fix a low spot, you create a problem for the neighbor down the hill a little bit, so you actually have to get in there and grade them. A couple of them in the south part of town, they've actually got the contractors when they're down doing the road work to go through the alleyways and do some work on them too. So
yeah, we need to actually see some things getting done rather than talking about it.
Yeah, well, he's working on it. I know it's been an ongoing battle. They've got a lot of work to do, and we've got a very narrow window of time that they can do it. And so the alleys have moved up a little bit in priorities, and I know that when I've called in on an alley repair, he's been very responsive and getting dump truck Doug, we call him.
Sure.
Yeah. But Brett and the Public Works people have been doing a real good job. But again, there's a lot of things to be getting done out there, and so they're very busy this time of the year.
See, right now, and I've been getting texts, Steve Powell, local car salesman,
I know,
and Supervisor Dinkla are off somewhere in a tavern playing cards.
Oh, great.
Is this good? Is this? See, those two guys are not fun haters. So we should get Powell on the council.
Yeah,
Steve
he
Powell
doesn't
for
live in
council.
town, though. It's the only problem.
Oh, we'll get him in here.
I would rather get his wife on. Do you know his wife?
Jill, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, well, she doesn't live in town either, I
I
assume.
know it. Yeah, but maybe we could get her an apartment. Yeah.
Okay.
We call Powell super salesman. I never address him by his real name.
I just call him Powell.
Yeah.
All right.
His dad was a salesman too, wasn't he?
Chuck, well,
Yeah.
I suppose you could refer to him as a sales guy. I mean, I knew Chuck a long time. We weren't good friends or anything like that, but I've known him a long time.
Yeah.
Mainly, he handled a lot of card games. You know, if there was a church thing or a VFW thing. Not saying that Chuck liked to gamble or anything, but anyway, Terry Mankey's been our guest. Thank you, Terry.
No problem.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
This is a call for all farmers to come to the aid of their beans. Liberty herbicide can now be applied on your Enlist E3 soybeans. Superior weed control, greater application flexibility, no known resistance in U.S. row crops. Liberty herbicide battles tough weeds so your beans can live free and grow healthy. Talk to your BASF rep to learn more. Always read and follow label directions. Liberty is a registered trademark of BASF. Enlist E3 is a trademark of Dow AgroSciences.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this summer? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will take you there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 573-8145. Midas, helping you get where you want to go. Your connection to Jefferson Lines.
Anyone who builds, remodels, or repairs for a living, we know the way you work has changed. That's why Lowe's is committing today to build new ways to keep you working tomorrow. We are proud to introduce the new Lowe's for Pros job site, powered by Stream, an augmented video chat tool so you can be there for your customers without actually being there. And the cost to use? Try it free through October 31st at lowesforpros.com/proloyalty. Just one of the reasons why Lowe's is the new home for pros. Services subject to Stream terms. Lowe's loyalty membership required. More terms apply.
If you're into cars or just want to learn a thing or two, tune in every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 for the Under the Hood Car Show on AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
It's 3 o'clock.
A White House plan is coming. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The president's spokeswoman says they're in the final edits stage of a police reform plan to help answer calls for change after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. But she also says one proposal already made in Congress, reducing immunity for cops, is a non-starter.
House Judiciary Committee leaders have introduced legislation designed to increase police accountability and prohibit practices that have led to deaths, like chokeholds and some no-knock warrants. It also calls for national standards for use of force, a proposal Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo, the president of the Major Cities Chiefs Association, signaled support for.
We have 18,000 police departments in this nation, with 18,000 sets of rules, policies, regulations.
The legislation backed by congressional Democrats would also establish a central database of police misconduct. Republican leaders are also drafting police accountability proposals.
Fox's Jared Halpern at that same hearing, Floyd's brother, Phil Innes, urging lawmakers to act and ensure his brother's death was not in vain. President Trump throwing cold water on the idea of renaming military bases that are named after Confederate generals. In tweets read by spokeswoman Kayleigh McEnany, saying those bases have become part of a great American heritage where heroes were trained and deployed.
Therefore, my administration will not even consider the renaming of these magnificent and fabled military installations. Our history as the greatest nation in the world will not be tampered with.
The Fed chief still concerned about longer-run damage to the U.S. economy from the fight against coronavirus, noting the shock of going from the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years to the highest in nearly 90 years. He says further action may be needed by Congress or the Fed. Today, the central bank leaving a key interest rate near zero. That briefly rallied Wall Street, but the Dow back down over 100 points leading up to the close. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
A New Jersey corrections officer is suspended after a social media post showing him mocking the death of George Floyd during a protest.
As protesters in Franklin Township pass, the man in front of a display supporting President Trump is shown kneeling on another man and shouting back at protesters. The corrections department did not give the man's name, but in a statement announced the suspension, calling the video hateful and disappointing. The man has also been banned from prison facilities pending an investigation. Governor Phil Murphy also tweeted calling the display repugnant, saying it will not stop efforts aimed at dismantling systemic racism. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Hours after a sheriff's deputy was wounded while responding to reports of an active shooter firing at a Central California police station, a man is found shot dead along train tracks nearby. Police say the incidents are believed to be connected. The body found as police continue to search for the gunman, locking down the downtown area of Paso Robles, a city northwest of L.A. California's Yosemite National Park is about to reopen, but with conditions.
The park will open its gates Thursday morning, but you just can't hop in the car and drive to the vast wilderness like you did before. The 1,200 square miles of amazing waterfalls, deep valleys, grand meadows, and giant sequoias has been shut down for 11 weeks due to the pandemic. And now you must go to recreation.gov to make a reservation. Without it, you will not get into the park. It still costs $35, but there's a $2 service charge, and there's room for 1,700 day passes for vehicles. And don't forget to print your confirmation emails since you have to show it to the ranger at the gate. CJ Papa, Fox News.
One of yesterday's primaries still too close to call in Georgia, where Democrat John Ossoff is far ahead of two other candidates, but so far just shy of the 50% needed to avoid a runoff. The winner to challenge Republican U.S. Senator David Perdue this fall. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A former Webster County sheriff has passed away. Chuck Griggs passed Tuesday at 80 years old. He served in the position as sheriff for over 20 years after he was elected for the first time in 1980. In the early 80s, Griggs helped to create the Webster County Crime Stoppers program. He also was instrumental in establishing an enhanced emergency dispatch system in the late 80s. Prior to becoming sheriff of Webster County, he worked in the Fort Dodge Police Department for over a decade. He also was a U.S. Navy veteran. A member of the baseball program at Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll has tested positive for COVID-19. The results were revealed last week. Officials in the school system at Kemper did not indicate whether the person with the virus is a coach or player in the program, but did say that the infected person was self-quarantining. Kemper parents were notified of the positive result late last week via email. Baseball and softball season is slated to start next week around the state, and the Iowa Department of Public Health has issued guidelines for baseball and softball teams to help prevent the potential spread of the virus. In those guidelines, the recommendation is made that any member of the team who is within 6 feet of the person with the virus for over 15 minutes should put themselves on self-isolation for 2 weeks. Public health officials in Buena Vista County announced the county's 4th COVID-19 related death on Tuesday. County health officials did not release the age of the person who passed. Buena Vista County Public Health is urging vulnerable residents to limit activities outside their homes. They also continue to stress taking appropriate social distancing measures, additional hand washing, and the disinfecting of frequently touched surfaces. The Calhoun County Board of Supervisors released a statement Wednesday morning regarding temporary safety measures they are continuing to implement at the courthouse. The County Board of Supervisors has decided to continue with a soft open of the Calhoun County Courthouse through June 26th. County departments will be open by appointments only during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. They ask that visitors please use the south entrance to the courthouse when entering for their appointments. During this period, the doors will be locked at the courthouse. Business will be conducted by appointment only. Drop-box use and electronic contact is encouraged. Upon arrival, customers will call the respective office that they need to be admitted to. Visitors must leave immediately after their business is complete. Community and Family Resources, or CFR, has their Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training coming up this Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. Here's Mickey Schubin from CFR on what that training will entail.
2 full days of kind of intense material, but you really get a chance to openly talk about how to talk to somebody if you feel like they are having thoughts of suicide or hurting themselves.
Shubin says the training will equip attendees with different tools and teaches them how to approach people who are suicidal.
You get some tools on different ways to approach somebody. It's really helpful to be very direct.
Shubin went on to talk about another thing that those that attend will receive.
The trainers will be giving everybody a comprehensive list of local resources, and then also some of the national, state, all of that type of thing. Anybody that attends a training will have that list.
For more information, contact CFR at 515-576-7261. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with highs around 73. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles per hour. Lows level off around 54. Tonight, clear skies. Lots of sunshine outside again. Tomorrow, high of 81. Mid-80s Friday, turning much cooler on Saturday with highs in the upper 70s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 72.
White or wheat, classic or old-fashioned, with or without sesame seeds. With so many choices, selecting the right bun for your super-duper top-secret recipe handcrafted home-grilled burger can seem overwhelming. But relax, the bakers at Village Hearth have made it easy. As long as you see the familiar Village Hearth logo on your package, your grilling cookout's bound to be a huge success. Unless, that is, your unwanted relatives show up, then there's no bun on earth that can save it. Village Hearth Buns, baking our best for you.
If you've ever used a weed killer, you have to hear this message. I'm attorney Matt Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Recently, one of our lawyers was part of a team that helped secure a verdict for a couple who contracted cancer after using Roundup. If you're a farmer, casual gardener, or anyone else who has used weed killers, you may not know that studies suggest that glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup, may increase the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto allegedly was aware of the risk posed by Roundup, but failed to disclose them to the public. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and you have used Roundup, you could be owed money for damages. Contact us today for a free case review. You pay nothing unless we recover money for you. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Call 844-949-0599. 844-949-0599. Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Over 50 offices nationwide. Main office, Orlando, Florida.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. It's 12 minutes after 3 o'clock and 70 degrees. We've committed since the outbreak of the COVID virus here to bring you Governor Reynolds' press conferences. This is tape delayed. This was recorded earlier today, about 11 o'clock, as I recall. So in keeping with our promise, here is Governor Reynolds.
Okay, well, good morning, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm happy to say that Iowa's COVID cases continue to trend in the right direction. The number of Iowans tested has now exceeded the 200,000 mark and currently stands at a per capita rate of 1 in 16 Iowans have been tested. There's been a total number of tests
Right now is the right time to update your home office. And the place to start is getting rid of that flimsy plastic mat under your office chair. Step up to a glass chair mat by Vitraza. I'm George Pardo, president of Vitraza. We've been supplying high-quality glass chair mats made right here in the U.S. for over a decade. They're super strong and never dent. And wait until you feel what it's like to have your chair glide on a smooth glass chair mat. They're beautiful, too. They completely step up the look of your office. We now have 18 glass chair mat sizes in stock, ready to ship. If standard sizes don't fit, check out our custom design options. Shop today at Vitraza.com and save 10% with code WRIGHT. Here's our website again, V as in Victor, ITRAZZA.com, and remember, save 10% with code WRIGHT. Vitraza.com.
Michael Devine, the doctor of truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
And currently stands at a per capita rate of 1 in 16 Iowans have been tested. There's been a total number of tests done. That number is 232,000, so that includes some of the repeat tests that Iowans now have an opportunity to do. So over 2,000 individual Iowans have been tested, and 232,000 tests have been completed. In late April, when the virus activity and surveillance testing was increasing, we hit an all-time daily high of 791 positive cases, and our overall positivity rate reached a high of 30%. Since then, positive case numbers have been consistently trending down. Our average positivity rate is currently at 11.1%, and yesterday our daily positivity rate was 5.4%. Overall, hospitalization rates also continue to trend down. In early May, we saw a high of more than 400 COVID-19 patients hospitalized. I think it was 417, and we had 164 Iowans in ICUs. Since then, these numbers have gradually and consistently decreased, and again, continue to do so. We have 73 patients in the ICU. That's down from 82 yesterday and 152 a month ago. As virus activity increased in some areas of the state, hospitalization rates in specific regions also increased temporarily for a period of time. The Regional Medical Coordination Centers, or our RMCCs, responded as planned, helping coordinate the transfer of vents and other medical supplies to hospitals in need, and or assisting with the transfer of patients to other facilities for care. But throughout this time, critical healthcare resources, including ICU beds, vents, remained stable across the state, and most importantly, Iowans received the quality of care that they needed and deserved. Our PPE inventory has also grown to serve the immediate and longer-term needs across the state. We now have a minimum of 14 weeks of supply in all essential PPE categories, and we continue to build both regional and state stockpiles capable of providing a combined 90 days of supply to area healthcare facilities. We've also seen our testing capacity increase significantly statewide. Iowa's major healthcare systems are processing COVID-19 tests in their hospital labs. The state hygienic lab has processed more than 80,000 tests from Iowans, more than any other lab serving our state. And Test Iowa has tested more than 36,000 Iowans since April 25th, the day that the first site opened, and they've tested more than 25,000 were tested since May 22nd, when testing criteria was open to anyone wanting tested. So the 25,000 were tested since May 22nd. By testing more Iowans and through our robust case investigation process, we're better able to track virus activity, understand its scope, and monitor trends over time, whether that's statewide, county, community, or right down to a zip code. It also allows us to track the recovery rate of those who have been sick. Of more than the 22,500 Iowans who have had COVID-19, more than 13,500, or 60%, have recovered, and 55% of all long-term care staff and residents that had the virus have also recovered. Additionally, 11 long-term care facilities where outbreaks occurred have now been removed from the outbreak status after having had no new cases for 28 consecutive days. Our ability to quickly identify an uptick in virus activity enables us to potentially identify, again, emerging hotspots early and get ahead of outbreaks that could develop as a result. Equally important, the data also informs important decisions regarding our economic recovery and getting life back to normal. Results such as the consistent downward trends in positive cases and hospitalizations that were experienced for the last month allow us to confidently take additional steps forward, further relaxing restrictions and reopening businesses through a measured and responsible approach that's driven by data. Effective Friday, June 12th at 8 a.m., the 50% capacity limit currently in place for businesses will be lifted. while retaining the requirements of 6 feet social distancing for certain businesses like restaurants, bars, and theaters. Eliminating the capacity restrictions will allow businesses the flexibility to adjust their specific operations accordingly to best meet the needs of their employees and customers. Establishments shall implement reasonable measures to ensure social distancing, increase hygiene practices, and other public health measures to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19, consistent with the guidance that's been provided by the Department of Public Health. Swimming pools may open under these same guidelines, and senior centers and adult daycare programs may also open if they comply with specific guidance being issued by the Department of Public Health. These changes are a result of the positive forward momentum that we're generating in Iowa, and we must keep it going. So we know that COVID-19 will remain in our communities for a while, but we also know what we can do to effectively mitigate and manage and contain it while we safely and responsibly move forward with life. It remains just as important now as it did 3 months ago that every Iowan continue to do their part to protect the health and the health of their health and the health of others, especially those who are most vulnerable. This morning, I've asked Dr. Badati to talk about the ongoing guidance from the Department of Public Health as we continue progressing through our recovery phase. Dr. Badati. Whoops.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning, everyone. So first, I want to start by thanking all Iowans for everything that you've already done to help limit the spread of this virus. I know that this has been an incredibly challenging time, and I know that all Iowans have made adjustments in their daily lives to help keep our families and our communities safe. I want to encourage everybody to stay informed and to continue to use good personal protective measures to help to limit the spread of this virus. So as we dial back on some of the mitigation strategies that we've used as part of this response, it's a good opportunity to review what some of those public health strategies are. It's important to remember that any Iowan that falls into a high-risk group, so that's going to include people who are older than 65, people who have underlying conditions like chronic lung disease or serious heart conditions, individuals in those groups are still going to want to stay home and avoid group settings as much as possible in order to protect their health. It's also okay to continue to stay home if you don't fall into those groups. Each Iowan should decide what's best for them and what might make sense for their circumstances to keep themselves and their families healthy. Now, doing things like staying home when you're sick, which is what we call isolation, and then staying home when you're exposed to somebody who's had COVID, which is what we call quarantine, continue to be very important ways to help limit the spread of this virus. So in particular, when we talk about quarantine, that's going to apply to people who are currently healthy, but who have had an exposure to somebody who's had COVID. And this is an important thing to do because if you stay away from other people for a period of 14 days, if you were to become sick, there would not be the opportunity to spread that virus to anybody else, and so it stops the transmission of the virus right there. Now, if you're not in a high-risk group, and if you're feeling well, and if you've not had a concerning exposure, and you're going to be outside of your home resuming activities, it's still important to follow public health guidance. So that's going to include things like taking steps to maintain at least a 6-foot distance from others and washing your hands frequently to help further limit the virus's ability to move between us. Also, using a cloth face covering if you are unable to maintain a 6-foot distance from others is going to be yet another tool you can use to help limit spread. Now, it's important to remember that if you're going to wear a face covering, you want to make sure that that's covering your mouth and your nose, and it should fit closely to your face. You don't want to be touching the outside of that mask, and if you do have to touch it or adjust it, you're going to want to immediately wash your hands. And those kinds of cloth face coverings should be changed after each use and cleaned, or if they become visibly dirty. Now, throughout this response, the Department of Public Health has provided guidance that Iowans can refer to as we start to get back to the ways that we live, work, and interact with each other. And we want to continue to do these things in a very safe and reasonable way, and so you'll continue to find guidance, including information about the topics and items that the governor mentioned on both coronavirus.iowa.gov and idph.iowa.gov. And that's also going to include guidance like the things that I've just discussed, as well as other measures that we talk about, like frequent cleaning and disinfecting. So overall, I think this has continued to be a very rapidly evolving response, and the department remains committed to stopping the spread of this virus and keeping Iowans informed and healthy. I encourage everyone to use the practices that I've described to help slow the spread of COVID-19. And these kinds of practices are also going to be really helpful in limiting the spread of other diseases. So they're going to continue to be important things to do as we move forward to help protect our health and the health of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Padati. I just so appreciate your partnership throughout this process, especially as we continue every day to learn more about COVID-19 and apply that information to our strategy to manage the virus and protect the health of all Iowans throughout this time. I am proud to say that we continue to add testing sites, which we think is critical in our ability to manage and contain. On Monday, we announced 5 new Test Iowa sites, including 4 clinic sites that are partnerships between the state and local healthcare providers to increase access to testing in rural Iowa and rural communities. Clinics operate and staff the test sites while the state provides testing supplies and processes the samples, again, through the state hygienic lab. Test Iowa clinic sites are now available at West Burlington, Waterloo, Clarinda, and Creston. 2 more clinic sites are opening in Carroll and Crawford counties. Both will be operated by St. Anthony Regional Hospital. One site opens today at the hospital in Carroll, and the other site opens tomorrow in Denison at St. Anthony Clinic. We're working with other healthcare providers in communities across the state and plan to open additional clinic sites next week, including one in Osage in partnership with the Mitchell County Public Health to, again, further expand access to testing in smaller communities where it is just otherwise limited. We do have a couple of our drive-through sites, Des Moines and Cedar Rapids, that will be moving to new locations in those communities. The Des Moines site currently is located at the Iowa Event Center's north parking lot. It will move to Polk County River Place at 2309 Euclid Avenue in Des Moines. And the Cedar Rapids location, currently at Kirkwood's Community Education Training Center, will move to the Iowa DOT District 6 office at 5455 Kirkwood Boulevard in Cedar Rapids. Both moves will occur when testing concludes at 6 p.m. on Friday. Each site is being relocated so that businesses can resume as usual at the Iowa Event Center and at the Kirkwood Community College. And again, I want to thank both organizations for working with us to help launch Test Iowa sites in Des Moines and Cedar Rapids. Testing will begin again Monday morning at the new location, so be sure and complete an assessment at testiowa.com and schedule an appointment if you want to be tested at one of the Test Iowa sites. And remember, that is one option. If you are feeling any symptoms and you're having trouble scheduling, be sure and call your physician. So this is one option to get tested. You also have the option to go through your healthcare providers and call a clinics if that is necessary. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Governor, a couple of weeks ago, you said you were meeting with the Iowa State Fair Board telephonically. What was your recommendation to them about the 2020 Iowa State Fair?
Yeah, so I'm not making a recommendation to them, Kay. They actually gave me an update on what they had been working on. They'd sent out a survey, some of the things that they were taking into consideration, some of the shows that had canceled and what that looked like moving forward, and how they were going to continue to look at all the information to get kind of where we were at as a state. So I was able to give them an update. This is a snapshot in time of what currently was in place. So we walked through some of that, but mostly that meeting, Kay, was an update on their part to talk about what the board had been working on, the survey that they're putting in place, that looking at, if they can actually pull off a fair with reduced attendance, and so they were doing the due diligence and gathering the information to provide the fair board members. So it was more an update.
Given your announcement today about businesses opening at full capacity, does that inform their decision?
Well, I mean, they'll have to decide that, but we have to continue to practice social distancing. I'm taking the 50% capacity off, giving somewhat flexibility to businesses and how they can make sure that they're protecting their employees as well as their clients. And so the same thing would would apply. Dr. Badati, I think, has walked through what we need to continually keep in the back of our mind as we continue to recover and move forward with opening the state back up. So they'll have to continue to take all of that into account. And you have to remember, they've had a lot of participants that typically make up the Iowa.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and that was Governor Kim Reynolds in a report from earlier today. Whenever she gives a conference on the issue of COVID, we will be happy to record it and broadcast it later in the day, as we just did. All right, the news is coming up at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Here's great news. Studies show that including lean pork in your diet can help you lose weight while maintaining more muscle. We're talking lean, strong muscle. Eating lean pork helps you feel fuller longer after you eat, and it gives your body the high-quality protein it needs. Celebrate your success with a tasty and healthy pork dish. Find great pork recipes and cooking tips at pork.org/cooking.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A former Webster County sheriff has passed away. Chuck Griggs passed Tuesday at 80 years old. He served in the position as sheriff for over 20 years after he was elected for the first time in 1980. In the early 80s, Griggs helped to create the Webster County Crime Stoppers program. He also was instrumental in establishing an enhanced emergency dispatch system in the late 80s. Prior to becoming sheriff of Webster County, he worked in the Fort Dodge Police Department for over a decade. He also was a U.S. Navy veteran. A member of the baseball program at Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll has tested positive for COVID-19. The results were revealed last week. Officials in the school system at Kemper did not indicate whether the person with the virus is a coach or player in the program, but did say that the infected person was self-quarantining. Kemper parents were notified of the positive result late last week via email. Baseball and softball season is slated to start next week around the state, and the Iowa Department of Public Health has issued guidelines for baseball and softball teams to help prevent the potential spread of the virus. In those guidelines, the recommendation is made that any member of the team who is within 6 feet of the person with the virus for over 15 minutes should put themselves on self-isolation for 2 weeks. Public health officials in Buena Vista County announced the county's 4th COVID-19 related death on Tuesday. County health officials did not release the age of the person who passed. Buena Vista County Public Health is urging vulnerable residents to limit activities outside their homes. They also continue to stress taking appropriate social distancing measures, additional hand washing, and the disinfecting of frequently touched surfaces. The Calhoun County Board of Supervisors released a statement Wednesday morning regarding temporary safety measures they are continuing to implement at the courthouse. The County Board of Supervisors has decided to continue with a soft open of the Calhoun County Courthouse through June 26th. County departments will be open by appointments only during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. They ask that visitors please use the south entrance to the courthouse when entering for their appointments. During this period, the doors will be locked at the courthouse. Business will be conducted by appointment only. Drop box use and electronic contact is encouraged. Upon arrival, customers will call the respective office that they need to be admitted to. Visitors must leave immediately after their business is complete. Community and Family Resources, or CFR, has their Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training coming up this Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. Here's Mickey Shubin from CFR on what that training will entail.
2 full days of kind of intense material, but you really get a chance to openly talk about how to talk to somebody if you feel like they are having thoughts of suicide or hurting themselves.
Shubin says the training will equip attendees with different tools and teaches them how to approach people who are suicidal.
You get some tools on different ways to approach somebody. It's really helpful to be very direct.
Shubin went on to talk about another thing that those that attend will receive.
The trainers will be giving everybody a comprehensive list of local resources, and then also some of the national, state, all of that type of thing. Anybody that attends a training will have that list.
For more information, contact CFR at 515-576-7261. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn down 1 1/4 at 326 1/4. September down 1 1/4 at 331 3/4. December corn down 1 3/4 at 341 1/2. March down 2 cents at 353 1/4. July soybeans up 2 1/4 at 865 1/2. August up 1 3/4 at 867 3/4. September up a penny at 869 1/4. November up a half a cent at 877. July wheat closed up 1 3/4 at 506 1/4. Soybean meal up 170 a ton at 288.80. June live cattle up 27 cents at 96.60. August down 130 at 96.50. August feeder cattle down 157 at 132.67. September down 140 at 134.15. June lean hogs down 22 cents at 47.85, and July down 17 cents at 52.80. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with highs around 73. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles per hour. Lows level off around 54. Tonight, clear skies. Lots of sunshine outside again. Tomorrow, high of 81. Mid-80s Friday, turning much cooler on Saturday with highs in the upper 70s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 72.
A healthy dairy appetizer. We have the recipe. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Nutritionist Amanda Marsh with the St. Louis District Dairy Council came to Brownfield to show us how to make it.
Take a skewer, take a mozzarella ball, take a tomato, and then some basil. You don't need the full thing of basil. And you push it on. So with the dairy, you're getting your 9 essential nutrients, your protein, and then you're getting some fiber here, because you're having the cherry tomato. Super simple, super easy, and it looks really elegant too. So if you're going to, I know we're in June, but right around the corner, 4th of July, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a great little thing to put on the plate, and you can make it, kind of fun and decorative. And once you get a few, this is a balsamic glaze. Now this I just got at the store, but you can easily make your own reduction. That's what it is. It's a balsamic vinegar reduction by putting the balsamic vinegar on a stove and just heating it up. Just drizzle it on.
Oh, that's perfect.
And so now you have a really cute, easy little, appetizer to bring to all of those outdoor barbecues or graduation parties, 4th of July parties, family gatherings. I mean, whatever you have, whatever you want.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I'm a wife,
a sister,
and a grandfather.
I'm an office clerk.
I'm a research analyst, dance fitness instructor,
actor.
I'm a copywriter.
I'm a veteran.
I have lupus,
cerebral palsy.
I'm blind.
And I'm working in a job I love.
Because I was given a chance
to contribute my skills and talents.
To show that my disability is only one part of who I am.
Who I am.
Who I am.
At work, it's what people can do that matters.
For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
It's hard seeing my parents struggle living independently in these trying times.
Lifelong Links can help you help them.
I wish I could do more.
You can. If your loved one needs assistance, Lifelong Links from the Iowa Department on Aging can help you connect to available resources such as food, personal care, or just someone to talk with. Call 866-468-7887 to receive a supportive response to help navigate these uncertain times together.
866-468-7887.
Anyone who builds, remodels, or repairs for a living, we know the way you work has changed. That's why Lowe's is committing today to build new ways to keep you working tomorrow. We are proud to introduce the new Lowe's for Pros job site, powered by Stream, an augmented video chat tool, so you can be there for your customers without actually being there. And the cost to use? Try it free through October 31st at lowesforpros.com/proloyalty. Just one of the reasons why Lowe's is the new home for pros. Services subject to Stream terms. Lowe's loyalty membership required. More terms apply.
If you've ever used a weed killer, you have to hear this message. I'm attorney Matt Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Recently, one of our lawyers was part of a team that helped secure a verdict for a couple who contracted cancer after using Roundup. If you're a farmer, casual gardener, or anyone else who has used weed killers, you may not know that studies suggest that glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup, may increase the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto allegedly was aware of the risk posed by Roundup, but failed to disclose them to the public. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and you have used Roundup, you could be owed money for damages. Contact us today for a free case review. You pay nothing unless we recover money for you. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Call 844-949-0599. 844-949-0599. Attorney Advertising. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Over 50 offices nationwide. Main office, Orlando, Florida.
There's nothing like the open road, the countryside, the freedom, roar of the engine. You know, the wind feels great on my face, but your bumper? Not so much. Look, all we're asking is for you to look twice and keep us in mind when you're out on the road. Hey, I'm 6'3", 280 pounds, but I still fit in your blind spot.
Fenders bend, bones don't. This reminder to share the road with motorcycles is brought to you by the Iowa Department of Public Safety, Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, it's 3:41, and on the air with us is Community Resource Officer Bruce Presswood of the Fort Dodge Police. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm real good. You are a police officer, right?
That is correct.
All right. I want to ask you, just as a man and a police officer, what your reaction was to that video of George Floyd here a couple weeks ago.
Well, my opinion and just talking to other fellow officers here, I mean, we're all kind of disgusted about the whole situation. We don't agree with that. We don't stand for that, especially here in Fort Dodge.
Well, I'll tell you, that would be the way I'd see it. It stands in stark contrast, by the way, and this makes me... The only thing that's really made me feel good the last couple of weeks is a video of protesters here in Fort Dodge kneeling in front of the Warden Plaza. And some police officers came along. Maybe you were one of them. I don't know. Some police officers came along, knelt with the protesters, and said the Lord's Prayer. And that should be on the news on every television station in this country. That was really something to see. I'm not easily impressed, but I was moved by that. Did you happen to be there, sir?
I showed up after the fact. I seen the tail end of it, but I would agree. The citizens here in Fort Dodge, they really represented us well. It, made us look good. We were peaceful with our officers, and our officers, enjoyed participating in that. I know they even escorted them as they walked through downtown, so everything went pretty smooth.
Everything went pretty smooth. Of course, people have a right to protest. I mean, they have that right.
Absolutely.
I don't, some of the some folks have focused on the violence that has happened, and I understand that. But I really think, from what I've seen, that most of the protesters are peaceful. Some are foolish. I mean, some are just kids out screwing around. I think I saw a video from Des Moines on KCCI. They had a protest down there, and the police were standing in line, and there were protesters kind of getting close to the line. Well, the cameraman was some feet away, probably 10 yards away, and here into the camera line comes a bunch of 16, 17-year-old white kids, and they throw rocks at the officers, laugh, and run off. I don't think they were very serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's a good example of maybe some people that are kind of taking advantage of the situation.
Well, that's really bad. I think they're too young to know what they're doing. This is a serious moment in our country, and calls for some sort of reflection. There's no doubt. Certainly not defunding police departments. I'm a supporter of police and fire, and if government can't provide police and fire, I don't think we need a government. So the idea that we should defund police in any way is crazy.
I would agree. I would totally agree.
Yeah, the police have a union here in town. I would just like to ask you, that chokehold that was used on George Floyd seems to have drawn a lot of attention. And I personally think, just as a civilian, don't know anything about police work, I personally think that chokehold should be banned. Is the chokehold, to your knowledge, allowed in Fort Dodge or not?
No, it's not. I'm not sure where that came into play. I know our Iowa Law Enforcement Academy that trains our officers, that's not something that they teach. So,
well, it came into play because that's what happened with George Floyd and others.
Right.
And
right.
I didn't know if it happened in Fort Dodge or the state of Iowa. It's not allowed everywhere.
Right.
So I was just trying for some clarification if Fort Dodge police ever use it, because I've never heard of it being used in Fort Dodge ever.
Right. Like I said, our officers are not taught to do that. So, unfortunately, it happened up there, and I guess we have to try to pick up the pieces and try to correct the image.
There's nothing else that can be done, and we have to find a way to make sure this doesn't happen again without damaging the police force. We rely on the police force too much. You guys have a really, really difficult job, and I know you run into a lot of hostile people who get really angry with you simply because you're officers. Does that happen, or am I misinterpreting something?
Occasionally it does, but I think it's just important that us as law enforcement officers, we just keep an open dialogue with the community and try to work through even some of the toughest situations that we can just right next to them.
Well, Roger Porter, I think, has done a pretty decent job, and the late Kevin Doty, I can't believe I'm saying the late Kevin Doty, for God's sake, and Tim Carmody before Doty, Carmody especially, it appeared to me, tried to open up as much, tried to keep the police a positive force in communities. I guess maybe that's the way I'd say it. He had the police show up at different public events. They weren't assigned there necessarily, but he'd have them, and maybe Doty and Roger Porter do too, have the police just show up at a ball game or a bike night or something just to shake hands and see what's going on. That's all. Otherwise, those are great ways of humanizing officers. Now, I don't mean anything negative about that, but sometimes if you don't know somebody, they turn into a uniform. You know what I'm saying?
I can totally understand that.
And nobody wants to be a uniform, and I don't want to think of anybody as a uniform.
I think, fortunately, Fort Dodge, is a decent-sized town, but it's small enough where everybody knows us, we know them. Like you said about humanizing police officers, it's not uncommon to see, for example, Chief Roger Porter, at Dodger Stadium on a Friday night attending a football game. Or, at senior high, attending a wrestling meet. So,
yeah. One of the most embarrassing moments of my life happened at a Fort Dodge wrestling meet, and it was then Lieutenant Kevin Doty was there, and one of the parents, who shall remain nameless, completely lost it, and all I could see was Doty moving across the gym, focused in on me. So I calmed down and left. So there you go. Our guest here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, is Community Resource Officer Presswood. What does that mean, Community Resource Officer?
So we have two Community Resource Officers. It's myself and Officer Johnson. You talked about seeing officers at some of the community events and stuff like that. That's kind of one of our main focuses. You see us at National Night Out. We have bicycle safety talks. When we're not doing that in the summertime, we work in the schools, so we deal mainly with some of our kids. So,
well, when I was raised, cops were heroes. Cops were somebody that you depended on. If you got in trouble, got lost, find a cop. That was my deal. Maybe that's not the attitude now. It's a different world. It's been a long time since I've been a kid. I can't expect things to stay the same, but I think having you guys in the schools, especially, we're using the word humanize. Yeah, it's a great way to humanize you officers to young children so they don't have the wrong impression of you somehow.
Absolutely.
Has the Fort Dodge Police Department had any meetings since the George Floyd incident about how the department should change, or were you in on those conversations if they were held?
I wasn't personally in on any of those conversations. I know the administration here has met with some of the community leaders here. Obviously, last week they were the ones that set up the Unity in the Community. That was the event held last Tuesday night at Dodger Stadium, where some of the leaders came forward. A lot of emotions were shared and stuff like that, and community members came out and showed support, and that was a good deal. But I think moving forward, there is going to be a lot more conversations, and we just have to have that open dialogue to communicate.
Well, that was such a raw and ugly video of George Floyd that I know a lot of officers are being unfairly tarred with association with that particular officer. It's unfair, but there's just a lot of emotion in the air right now, a lot of emotion in the air. And I think now is when we need to speak a little more slowly and not avoid any subjects, not avoid the issue of change, not avoid any responsibility. But there's just so much emotion that we'll never be able to make a reasonable decision about anything if we don't continue to have a conversation. The Minneapolis City Council, for example, as you know, I'm sure, voted to defund the Minneapolis Police Department. Well, that's an overreaction. It's crazier than hell. How do you defund a police department in any size town? That's never going to happen here. But I'm just using that as a example of the great emotion in the air and people's reaction to a video. And that should have never happened. Officer Presswood, are there any types of when you're dealing with a citizen who maybe or who is being arrested, are there any sort of tactics that are not allowed in the Fort Dodge Police Department other than the chokehold?
So, for example, in that video that we've seen and the whole nation has seen, like you've seen the gentleman being placed on his stomach on the ground. I mean, that's not a good idea. I mean, he should have been placed in a squad car right away. Even in a squad car, we're not going to place somebody on their stomach. I mean, that's standard practice.
Why don't you place them on their stomach?
Well, they do have a potential to essentially suffocate if you place them on their stomach with their hands behind their back. And
really?
I think, a lot of people, you kind of seen that in some of the demonstrations on the news. That's kind of why you've seen groups of people laying on their stomachs with their hands behind their back for the approximate 9 minutes.
Yeah, that was ugly, and I'm glad to see that doesn't happen. I didn't think of it, but you're right. If you got your hands behind your back and you're flat on your stomach, that's trouble. So I'm glad we don't do that in Fort Dodge. I've never really heard, and I've lived here a long time, I've never heard of anyone badly injured by the Fort Dodge Police Department. Never.
Nope.
As a result of some sort of tactic used in their arrest, whether it was subduing them, putting cuffs on, whatever. I've never heard of it. And again, I've been around here a long time.
But moving forward, everybody wants change, and that will happen. And as far as law enforcement goes, I'm sure that will affect some of our training and stuff like that. But we're used to training, and we adapt to new things, and training is important because it's time to perform. You're not just going to rise to the occasion. You will fall to your level of training.
Well, I think we're going to have change. I hope the chokehold is banned nationally. And again, that doesn't apply here in Fort Dodge. You've already said that nobody uses that, and that's good. That's a good thing. And I'm also very glad to learn about the dangers of placing someone on their stomach, which makes the officer in Minneapolis's actions even more baffling. But a lot of people don't want to be blamed because someone in their particular group did something wrong. And I would support that. I don't care what group you're part of. If somebody does something as ugly and foolish as that Minneapolis police officer did, all the police in the 18,000 plus police departments that we have in our country are not to blame. They would not do something like that. They're not capable of something like that. And the idea that the police should be extorted is ridiculous to me. But I want to thank you very much, Officer Presswood, for being on the air with me. I know it's been kind of a delicate time for police officers especially, and I hope we can talk again sometime.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
All right. Officer Bruce Presswood for the Fort Dodge Police Department has been our guest. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, and this is my man, Red Skelton.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, and he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, one nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
.359, County Supervisor Pete Dinklaw right after the news. We'll have Dr. Lee Heath a little bit later on in the next hour. KVFD Fort Dodge.
I'm Dave Ramsey. Join me every Monday through Friday afternoon from 5 to 8 p.m. on AM 1400 KVFD Fort Dodge.
Stop the pain. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That plea on Capitol Hill today from one of the loved ones who buried George Floyd yesterday. Fox's Mike Emanuel in Washington.
George Floyd's brother called on Congress to make the necessary changes so law enforcement will be the solution and not the problem.
Hold them accountable when they do something wrong. Teach them what it means to treat people with empathy and respect.
The House Judiciary Committee hearing from a wide range of witnesses at a time when many members from both parties say common sense reforms are possible. Lawmakers are also hearing today from federal officer Patrick Underwood's sister. He was killed during the recent riots in Oakland.
We will never solve generational systemic injustice with looting, burning, destruction of property, and killing in the name of justice.
The White House also working on a plan with Senate Republicans and raising concern about some of the Democrats' proposals. In Atlanta, 2 more of the officers facing charges for pulling 2 college students out of a car are now fired. Homeland Security officials are telling police departments to watch out for officers' personal information being leaked online.
Home addresses, email addresses, and phone numbers of police officers in major cities are being shared online, according to a warning from the Department of Homeland Security. An unclassified intelligence document from DHS warns doxing could lead to attacks by violent opportunists or domestic violent extremists.
Fox's Jared Halpern, some of the leaked information available through public sources, but officers are being encouraged to increase security settings and avoid online quizzes. The economy might need more help from either Congress or the Fed. That bottom line from the Fed chief, who remains concerned about longer-term impacts from coronavirus shutdowns. The Dow dropping 282, slipping back under 27K, but the NASDAQ closing above 10,000 for the first time. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET, Or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance. You'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
One of the primaries yesterday in several states raising more concern for the November elections. Georgia had problems with new voting machines and in some cases, people waiting in line for hours.
There were fewer polling places and poll workers because of COVID-19. That's also why the primary was postponed twice. But despite the extra time to prep, people in line told Fox CDC guidelines were not always respected.
There's nobody giving anybody directions. There's not enough space for people to respect social distancing. Not all the staff have masks on. It really is a mess. And the Secretary of State had months to prepare for this.
Hillary Clinton now tweets this: what happened in Georgia yesterday was by design. Voter suppression is a threat to our democracy.
Fox's Peter Ducey. This is a push for more mail-in voting, and a debate over that continues around the country. Late reports in Idaho that 2 bodies recovered yesterday are a brother and sister missing since September. Both their stepfather and mother now in custody. A classic film is about to get what amounts to a warning label after being removed from a streaming service.
Gone with the Wind is not on HBO Max. However, the film, which was made in 1939 about a Southern family during the Civil War, will return to the platform with a discussion. On Tuesday, the film was removed in the wake of protests over the death of George Floyd. The film stars Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh and gave Hattie McDowell an Oscar for her performance.
And I won't need to buy it. Oh, yes, you is. You was going to eat every mouthful of it.
The company in a statement wrote, "These racist depictions were wrong then and are wrong today." Telling Variety it will return with a discussion of its historical context and a denouncement of those very depictions. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Ford is recalling over 2 million vehicles because of door latches that might still be faulty after a previous recall several years ago, covering many vehicles from the 2011 through 2015 model years. Elisa Brady, Fox News.
Your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A former Webster County sheriff has passed away. Chuck Griggs passed Tuesday at 80 years old. He served in the position as sheriff for over 20 years after he was elected for the first time in 1980. In the early 80s, Griggs helped to create the Webster County Crime Stoppers program. He also was instrumental in establishing an enhanced emergency dispatch system in the late 80s. Prior to becoming sheriff of Webster County, he worked in the Fort Dodge Police Department for over a decade. He also was a U.S. Navy veteran. A member of the baseball program at Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll has tested positive for COVID-19. The results were revealed last week. Officials in the school system at Kemper did not indicate whether the person with the virus is a coach or player in the program, but did say that the infected person was self-quarantining. Kemper parents were notified of the positive result late last week via email. Baseball and softball season is slated to start next week around the state, and the Iowa Department of Public Health has issued guidelines for baseball and softball teams to help prevent the potential spread of the virus. In those guidelines, the recommendation is made that any member of the team who is within 6 feet of the person with the virus for over 15 minutes should put themselves on self-isolation for 2 weeks. Public health officials in Buena Vista County announced the county's fourth COVID-19 related death on Tuesday. County health officials did not release the age of the person who passed. Buena Vista County Public Health is urging vulnerable residents to limit activities outside their homes. They also continue to stress taking appropriate social distancing measures, additional hand washing, and the disinfecting of frequently touched surfaces. The Calhoun County Board of Supervisors released a statement Wednesday morning regarding temporary safety measures they are continuing to implement at the courthouse. The County Board of Supervisors has decided to continue with a soft open of the Calhoun County Courthouse through June 26th. County departments will be open by appointments only during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. They ask that visitors please use the south entrance to the courthouse when entering for their appointments. During this period, the doors will be locked at the courthouse. Business will be conducted by appointment only. Dropbox use and electronic contact is encouraged. Upon arrival, customers will call the respective office that they need to be admitted to. Visitors must leave immediately after their business is complete. Community and Family Resources, or CFR, has their Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training coming up this Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. Here's Mickey Shubin from CFR on what that training will entail.
2 full days of kind of intense material, but you really get a chance to openly talk about how to talk to somebody if you feel like they are having thoughts of suicide or hurting themselves.
Shubin says the training will equip attendees with different tools and teaches them how to approach people who are suicidal.
You get some tools on different ways to approach somebody. It's really helpful to be very direct.
Shubin went on to talk about another thing that those that attend will receive.
The trainers will be giving everybody a comprehensive list of local resources, and then also some of the national, state, all of that type of thing. Anybody that attends the training will have that list.
For more information, contact CFR at 515-576-7261. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with highs around 73. Northwest winds 20 to 25 miles per hour. Lows level off around 54. Tonight, clear skies. Lots of sunshine outside again. Tomorrow, high of 81. Mid-80s Friday, turning much cooler on Saturday with highs in the upper 70s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 73.
I'm Phil Gunderson. Gunderson's has a tradition of providing services unmatched in our community. Funeral, cremation, and pre-planning services with certified celebrants on staff, aftercare, video, and customized printed goods that are the standard. We offer live streaming options and community support with remembrance and educational programs. When it's time to look for a funeral home, look to Gunderson's.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company helps you customize your home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Unlike things you paid for you didn't need, like that much-needed 125-inch flat-screen TV.
It's hurting my eyes a lot.
For your 100-square-foot bedroom.
My neck isn't so much stiff as it's completely stuck.
With Liberty Mutual, get customized home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Uh-oh, I'm seeing color splotches.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I'm the mayor of Manville, and with me now is the mayor of Webster County, I think, Keith Dinklaw. How you doing, Keith?
Pretty good. I don't know about being the mayor, but I'm here.
Oh, come on, man. Now, come on, man. What are you doing hanging out with Steve Powell today? That's trouble.
Well, you knew what we were doing. We had a little card game.
Yeah, a little bit of a card game, huh?
Yeah.
Were you down at
socializing?
You and Powell are real good at that. You guys,
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah.
are social guys.
Well, yeah, that's what we got to be out and socialize with the guys.
Where were we at? Down at Chesterfield, or?
No, we went to the community today.
Oh, you went to the community. Okay. Paul must be on vacation. He was in there playing cards last Saturday.
He's trying to buff up his game a little bit or something.
Is he trying to? Okay. Yeah, we our breakfast group last week at the community consisted of me and Donnie. So
I figured that. Yeah.
But the breakfast was good. The breakfast was
Yeah.
good.
That's
All
good.
right.
Always good there.
All right. So the supervisors are what, going to defund the sheriff's department or what?
No, we're going to fund him more, I guess. 'Cause
We're gonna fund more.
if they close the police department, then we have to fund the sheriff's department.
Yeah,
take over the
that'd be a heck of a
difference.
deal. Well, I talked with an officer, Presswood, community resources officer here a little bit ago. He didn't think there was much appetite for that, and I don't think there's I don't think there's much demand for it in the city.
Nope, I don't think we're going to be okay at Fort Dodge.
I think we're going to be okay. We have been okay, and we will be okay. I guess
Yep.
we got to say goodbye to Chuck Griggs. You know,
Yeah, he was a great sheriff in his day.
He was a lot of fun in his day. You know, we used to have these. Well, it's for March of Dimes, and we'd when I was at KKZ Radio way back in the early '80s, we'd lead a bunch of kids on a long hike, you know, to bring awareness to March of Dimes, and we'd hold up signs like "Fund the March of Dimes." It was a good cause, and Chuck would always kind of, since we were out in the country sometimes and walking on the shoulder, he would always drive out there in his sheriff car and stuff and kind of keep an eye on us and make sure people weren't going by like crazy. And they were sometime. And Chuck got one of them. I remember him. He didn't. I think we were headed east, and this car just didn't have a brain in his head. He just came whipping by those kids at a high rate of speed, and Chuck just popped a U-turn and caught him.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, he was the type of the sheriff that would stop you and say, "Now, you know you shouldn't be doing that. Give me that stuff," and go home.
Yeah, well, those were the days, really, when the sheriff's, and it's been a long time since my fun years, but the sheriffs and police used to kind of look out for the citizens rather than try to hammer them or anything. You know, I'm sure that doesn't happen now. I find it hard to believe. I would find it hard to believe that Jim Stubbs ever treated anybody badly.
No.
And Luke Fleener or Tony Walter, is that who the other fellow is going to be running for sheriff?
Luke Fleener.
Luke Fleener's one of them. Who's the Democratic guy?
It's Luke, isn't it? Luke Fleener and Tony Walter.
Tony Walter, right. No, Luke's the Republican, I think.
No, I think he's a Democrat.
Okay, well, if he's a Democrat, that's fine, too.
Yeah.
I guess in the state of Iowa, you got to name your political party if you're going to run for sheriff, but I never voted for a sheriff in my life on the basis of political party.
Yeah, I don't base my political party on anything. I vote for the person.
That's right. Okay, so the County Board of Supervisors are moving ahead with protections from the COVID-19 virus. You're getting some plastic shields or something, I read?
No, we have temporary plastic shields up.
Yeah.
But, this isn't going away, and what's going to be the next one, so we've decided to make the investment and fix it right and put screens up that are going to last.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I am here. I just noticed there was a flash came over my computer screen here that the Fair Board has decided to postpone, at the very least, the Iowa State Fair, which I'm not happy to hear about. But Blues Under the Trees got canceled. That's another thing I always look forward to. And the State Fair I usually look forward to as well. Has there been any decision made on the county fair?
Well, I think they're going to do some judging, but I don't think they're going to have any shows or anything like that.
Not going to have the races or anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it was in the paper today, but I think they're just going to have some shows.
Well, okay.
Judging, the judging of the animals, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Absolutely.
Did you ever show animals when you were a kid?
Yeah, we grew up on a farm. I had beef 3-4 years in a row.
Pigs or sheep or cattle or?
Cattle, beef.
Cattle, beef. All right.
Yep. Didn't do very good, but I participated.
Well, the whole idea is an educational experience for young people, so what the heck?
Yes.
What the heck? No, usually somebody with a little money buys the champion and has pretty good beef for the whole year.
Yeah, yeah. And usually it was whoever, if you was a rich family, you could buy a pretty nice calf and back in my day and, win the purple prize.
Sure, yeah. Well, I always like county fairs. I always like the Webster County Fair. I got to admit that I go out there to watch the races sometimes, but I've always been a fan of county fairs and certainly the state fair. I hope they don't postpone or cancel the Clay County Fair if they're going to postpone the...
I bet they will.
Yeah, I bet they will too. That's the second best fair in the state as far as I'm concerned. You've been up there, haven't you?
In Midwest, probably.
In the Midwest, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's got a better machinery display than the state fair.
The state fair, absolutely.
Boy, they got some impressive machinery up there.
Oh, yeah. So, did they have the stock car races? Friday night?
I don't know about that.
They're having the races. I just wonder if they had spectators.
Gee, I don't know about that, Keith. They did have the races last Friday?
Yeah, I guess if you call it a protest, though, you could have as many people as you wanted.
I don't know if you and I want to go down that road. We'll both get in trouble.
I know.
No, I don't know.
I watched that funeral on the TV yesterday, and they weren't social distancing there.
They weren't social distancing?
No, there was probably 500 people in the room, and it was a pretty big crowd.
Were they wearing masks and stuff or not?
Not very many of them were, no.
Well, that was down in Houston in June this time of year. I don't think I'd be one of...
No, it could be hard to breathe.
Yeah, it could be for me. Too many years of Lucky Strikes.
There you go, yeah.
So, yeah, that's the deal. So, how's the courthouse renovation coming along, the bell tower, I should say?
Well, we took some of the skin off of up by the bell, wood, and the iron structure inside was rusted out. So we have to buy new iron and reinforce that.
Okay. So
it's funny the bell was even standing up there.
That bad, huh?
Yeah. But it's been there for 100 years, so what can you expect with, leaky wood and leaky roof?
Sure. Yeah, I bet.
So that gets everything. It's going right along. We got some stuff coming from out of the country that we're worried about might not get here on time.
Out of our country, you mean?
Yeah, some of the stuff, some of the copper or something. I think Nick was saying that we might not get some stuff right away.
Here it is now. Just another news flash. I don't know if they're canceling the state fair or postponing it, but it's official now that the state fair is at the very least, postponing it, and they're looking at holding the fair. Or excuse me, they're saying now that holding the fair this year wasn't feasible, but the fair board looks forward to next year. So that's we're going to miss the state fair. I don't know.
They don't have any county fairs. They don't have any county fairs. They won't have any 4-H projects down there, will they? Don't you have to qualify to go to state fair? County fairs?
Steve. Yeah, I think so.
So that put a damper on that. None of the shows can go down there. All the people probably canceled out. For the grandstand shows.
Yeah, just no good has come out of this COVID thing.
Yeah, we're going to cancel 2020, I guess. Everything's canceled for the year.
I think we have canceled it so far. The governor, I don't know if you heard, but the governor is opening up more businesses. She's getting rid of more restrictions on business. I suppose there'll be a lot of screaming about the governor's trying to kill people, but...
Well, we opened up the courthouse 2 weeks ago, and I don't think we've had any problems. At least as far as I know, nobody's... we've had one person complain that the people didn't social distance enough, but, that's hard to control.
One person actually complained about that?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they brought their sick husband in with them, and the people.
Well, what
in
are they
social
bringing a
distancing
sick
now.
husband in for?
Exactly. Exactly.
If your husband's sick, don't take him out and around.
Yeah. So it was our fault that we weren't social distancing up.
It's great to have so many people taking personal responsibility.
Yeah. No, I think we tried to open up as safely as we could.
Right.
And we have tell people we have somebody sitting at the door and directing them where to go and look at your stuff and ask people to practice social distancing and don't go in the office unless nobody's at the desk, and it's been working out pretty good. I mean, our treasurer I think did over 300 transfers the first week that we opened up.
Really?
She was that far behind, so I don't know how these other counties the treasurers are going to catch up with licenses. You got to get your car license, you got to get your taxes paid, transfers. I don't know how they're going to do it with getting an appointment.
Do you go out to Webster County Fair much, Keith, anymore?
Oh yeah, we go out every year when it's going on. A couple times a year. You betcha. It's
You
good.
go out to
It's
see
great.
You go out to see the livestock shows, or?
No, I just go. I used to do the auctions and stuff when they had those. When I was auctioning full time. But no, I just usually went to the tractor pull and the truck pulls and the truck shows and stuff like that at night. And go through the exhibits.
Sure. Yeah, I like the tractor pulls. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, they put on a pretty good show.
Those were always a lot of fun. Some of the bigger ones, boy, they dig up a lot of ground. I'll tell you.
They throw a lot of smoke and make a lot of noise.
Boy, they do for sure. Anything else we need to talk about, Keith?
Not really. The courthouse renovation's going good. Everybody's coming to the courthouse and practicing social distancing and stuff, so that's going well. So things are going good at the courthouse.
Good. Did you take any of Powell's money today?
No. He always wins. He's too good a player for us.
He is. He's really good. I'll tell you. Isn't his wife related to the Dinklaws?
He's actually my double cousin.
Double cousin?
His wife is. My cousin. His wife is my double cousin. My brother and sister from one family married brother and sister from the other family.
Oh, yeah. Her name was Wilson, I think, before she got down.
Yep. So my mom and her dad was brother and sister, and her dad and my mom was brother and sister. No incest there. It was just brother and sister married brother and sister.
Well,
different last names.
I'm glad to hear that, Keith. All right, Keith Dinklaw has been our guest. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, goodbye.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Focusing on post-emergence herbicide applications. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner, and this is Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with Bear Plus Rewards. Bear's crop protection portfolio provides farmers with a wide variety of choices to control weeds. And with the Bear Plus Rewards program, farmers can earn money back from those purchases. And this Managing for Profit, Bear's Frank Ritteman explains. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. The nicotine in e-cigarettes is addictive and can harm brain development. That's why I worry about teens who try e-cigarettes. Many young people use pod-based e-cigarettes like Juul, which have high levels of nicotine. And because teens' brains are still developing, they can quickly become addicted. The tobacco industry uses fruit and candy flavors to attract young people, often turning them into lifelong users. For more, visit healthychildren.org.
What is hope? Hope to me was just that he would get to come home. I had no idea how hard it would be once he got back.
I wish she'd stop drinking so much. She thinks it's helping, but it's not.
I act like I don't care if he comes to my games, but I hope he does.
I hoped he'd get help. He told me to stop asking. I didn't. Then one day he asked for a ride.
Hope is knowing there are other families just like yours, that the veterans they love got help and recovered. Go to maketheconnection.net and turn hope into action.
Most of the corn crop has been planted, and it's time for farmers to turn their attention to getting the crop to harvest. Bayer Product Manager for corn, cotton, and soybean herbicides, Frank Ritteman, says with the warmer weather, the corn crop is developing rapidly.
So it's a good time for growers to be out in the field, take stock of how the corn crop is growing, and take a look at how did the pre-emerge applications perform. Are they still holding back the weeds, or do we see the first weeds start to emerge? And if they do, what type of weeds do we see emerge, and what size are they already? So it's really an important time to stay on top of your crops, take a look at what's happening, and formulate your plan for the next couple of weeks, especially when thinking about the post-emergence application. It's really a trend the last 5-10 years. It's been growing in popularity, not just to rely on your pre-emerge application, but to come back with a post-emergence application, ideally including a second residual, what we call layered residuals, and ideally including multiple different size of actions.
He tells Brownfield there's a reason it's important to monitor the crop's development stage.
Different of these post-emergence products have different height restrictions until when the products can be applied. Sometimes it's V4, V5, V6, or later in the season. The broad Bayer portfolio, for example, Harness Max, one of our leading recommendations, can be applied all the way up to about a V4 corn. Caprino, another popular option in the Bayer portfolio, can be applied a little bit later. But then as we go later into the season, we then switch our recommendation towards a Diaflex or Loudus that have a wider application window and a greater flexibility. So that's really where it comes all together. And a great partner for all of these products is Roundup Power Max with its extremely broad window of application during the season.
Rittiman says having a large portfolio of weed control options helps growers pick the best course of action for their farm. He says the new Bayer Plus Rewards program helps farmers earn money for making those best agronomic decisions.
Beyond weed control, a main challenge these days is commercial or economic viability. And weed control programs with weed resistance increasing tend to have become more costly over time. So we are very proud to have introduced our Bayer Plus program this year, which on the one hand promotes good agronomic practices by offering the whole Bayer portfolio for pre- and post-emerge herbicide application, but at the same time then provides a progressively increasing incentives back to growers that follow those agronomic recommendations.
I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with Bayer Plus Rewards.
It's hard seeing my parents struggle living independently in these trying times.
Lifelong Links can help you help them.
I wish I could do more.
You can. If your loved one needs assistance, Lifelong Links from the Iowa Department on Aging can help you connect to available resources such as food, personal care, or just someone to talk with. Call 866-468-7887 to receive a supportive response to help navigate these uncertain times together.
866-468-7887.
Help Dad make time for what really matters with battery power made by Steel. Right now, save $40 when you buy select battery-powered tools with 2 batteries and a charger. Shop online at steelusa.com/gift guide. Pick up at over 9,000 local Steel dealers. Offer valid for a limited time at participating dealers while supplies last. Not available in all markets. See dealer for details.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. This year's installment of the Iowa State Fair has been canceled. The State Fair Board voted 11-2 to cancel this year's fair, which was originally scheduled for August. Iowa State Fair CEO Gary Slater, social distancing properly would have posed a major challenge, and the Iowa Department of Public Health recommended postponing the fair. Iowa follows Minnesota and Wisconsin in canceling their state fairs for this year. Slater went on to say that holding a fair this year just wasn't feasible, and the Fair Board looks forward to next year's state fair. The 2021 Iowa State Fair has been scheduled for August 12th through the 22nd. A former Webster County sheriff has passed away. Chuck Griggs passed Tuesday at 80 years old. He served in the position as sheriff for over 20 years after he was elected for the first time in 1980. In the early 80s, Griggs helped to create the Webster County Crime Stoppers program. He also was instrumental in establishing an enhanced emergency dispatch system in the late 80s. Prior to becoming sheriff of Webster County, he worked in the Fort Dodge Police Department for over a decade. He also was a U.S. Navy veteran. A member of the baseball program at Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll has tested positive for COVID-19. The results were revealed last week. Officials in the school system at Kemper did not indicate whether the person with the virus is a coach or player in the program, but did say that the infected person was self-quarantining. Kemper parents were notified of the positive result late last week via email. Baseball and softball season is slated to start next week around the state, and the Iowa Department of Public Health has issued guidelines for baseball and softball teams to help prevent the potential spread of the virus. In those guidelines, the recommendation is made that any member of the team who is within 6 feet of the person with the virus for over 15 minutes should put themselves on self-isolation for 2 weeks. The Calhoun County Board of Supervisors released a statement Wednesday morning regarding temporary safety measures they are continuing to implement at the courthouse. The County Board of Supervisors has decided to continue with a soft open of the Calhoun County Courthouse through June 26th. County departments will be open by appointments only during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. They ask that visitors please use the south entrance to the courthouse when entering for their appointments. During this period, the doors will be locked at the courthouse. Business will be conducted by appointment only. Drop-box use and electronic contact is encouraged. Upon arrival, customers will call the respective office that they need to be admitted to. Visitors must leave immediately after their business is complete. Community and Family Resources, or CFR, has their Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training coming up this Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. Here's Mickey Shubin from CFR on what that training will entail.
2 full days of kind of intense material, but you really get a chance to openly talk about how to talk to somebody if you feel like they are having thoughts of suicide or hurting themselves.
Shubin says the training will equip attendees with different tools and teaches them how to approach people who are suicidal.
You get some tools on different ways to approach somebody. It's really helpful to be very direct.
Shubin went on to talk about another thing that those that attend will receive.
The trainers will be giving everybody a comprehensive list of local resources, and then also some of the national, state, all of that type of thing. Anybody that attends the training will have that list.
For more information, contact CFR at 515-576-7261. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge 434. Dr. Lee Heeb will join us in just a few minutes. 73 degrees right now. That will be our day's high. Sunny and windy right now, of course. Overnight mostly clear with a low of 53. 53 is pretty cool for this time of year. On Thursday, sunny with a high of 81. On Friday, sunny with a high of 86. Saturday, sunny with a high of 79. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 80. On Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 85. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 89. So great weather forecast for the next 7 days. Right now, again, 73 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Well, by now you know our town has lost a friend. Former Webster County Sheriff Chuck Griggs died last night at the age of 80. He was an officer in our town of some kind for a long time. He was a Fort Dodge police officer, 13 years, and he was lieutenant when he ran for sheriff, and he was the county sheriff for many, many years. He was always a good guy to be around. I didn't really know him personally, but I knew him well enough to call him by his name, and I see him at social occasions, or public occasions, I should say. And he was always friendly and gregarious guy. So, again, our town has lost a friend when we lost Chuck Griggs last night. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. 73 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Dr. Lee Heeb is next. It's 4:36.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks finishing mixed even after the Federal Reserve pledged to hold interest rates at
Yeah, Lee? Lee? Yeah, just hang tight for about another minute.
No problem.
All right, thanks.
Above $1,000 a share after its CEO Elon Musk told staffers it was time to bring the Tesla semi-commercial truck to volume production. The stock also receiving a boost from a bullish call by Wed Bush and said that Tesla could have more room to run. And Boeing is aiming to conduct a key certification test flight on its grounded 737 MAX jet in late June, according to Reuters. The plane has been grounded since March of 2019 after 2 fatal crashes. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Your employees and customers have new expectations when it comes to cleanliness. Cintas has the products and services you need to feel prepared. A trained Cintas technician can apply disinfectant and sanitizer spray to common surfaces. And we'll keep you well stocked with gloves, face masks, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant wipes, professional cleaning supplies, and PPE. Just a few ways Cintas can help you keep your business safe. Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor, brought to you by Riley Armstrong Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing emergencies don't usually happen during normal business hours, so Riley Armstrong is here for you 24/7. Call 955-2232. And the Fort Museum in Frontier Village, where history comes alive. Travel back in time and celebrate the heritage of Fort Dodge at the Fort Museum. Book your next special event at the Opera House, too. When severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the Voice of Fort Dodge. I'm the Doctor of Truth, and with me is an actual doctor, Dr. Lee Heeb. How are you, Doctor?
Hey, great.
All right, Dr. Heeb is a libertarian, and she's an orthopedic surgeon, so she's not a sociologist or any of those silly things that people on the left seem to get most of their information from. I feel this way. Oh, well, it must be a fact then. Speaking of emotion, most medical professionals in the state of Iowa seem to be trying to scare us to death. And I wish they would just tell us if there's been any progress made. If you're going to scare us to death and demand that we stay inside and close our businesses and ruin our lives, perhaps you could explain what you've been doing these last 3 or 4 months. Because all we're hearing from them over and over and over again is social distancing and wear a mask and on and on and on. Literally and figuratively shaking their little finger in our face. I'm about tired of that. Is there any chance we can get some actual information?
Well, yeah. And, I just actually gave a talk in the front of the state capitol last week about this. And this is what I said. FDR, I'm a libertarian, so he's not really my favorite politician. But FDR made a couple very salient points, and he said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And the second thing he said is that anything that happens in politics is not by accident. If it happened, it was made to happen. And I think those two things are really important to think about in what's happening right now. When you say doctors, I just want to clarify. It's the bureaucrat doctors that are saying this. The university, maybe the university guys. But the average guy, the average doctor that's actually out there treating patients is getting this. I mean, you're hearing rumbling all over the world, less in America because we are being controlled. And I want to make some points about that. But around the world, doctors are saying, why are you guys in America doing what you're doing? I had a patient the other day from Senegal. She lives here now, but she's a native Senegalese. Her family still lives in Senegal. She said they didn't shut down. They've been using hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine for generations, since 1947 when chloroquine came out, or the early 50s for hydroxychloroquine, and they've got 40 deaths in Senegal. Are we really to believe that the CDC, with all its brilliant brain power and virologists and epidemiologists, can't do better? I mean, this is a contrived issue, and we need to be very clear about that. Now, I'm not here to tell you the virus can't kill you. You can die from almost any virus, but you shouldn't have to. And it's what I'm going to tell you right now is it's extremely important that we learn the right lessons from this pandemic, because this isn't the last one we're going to face. We have entered a new world. We you and I grew up under the nuclear umbrella. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we entered a new world then. We came into the nuclear fear time. Now, we kind of are used to living with that. But now we have a new world. And our world is now, it's the world of viral terrorism. We can be terrorized by man-made, laboratory-contrived pathogens. And we as people need to understand who's doing this, what's happening, and how we can protect ourselves, because this is an end game scenario. I don't mean to sound like doom and gloom, but and people can think I'm just crazy, but there's a lot of, this really is potentially an end game. We have to take this very seriously, what's been going on. But let me just say, I'll give you the truth as I know it about this virus. It's over. Let's just say that. It's over. In fact, they're trying to hush this up, but the only thing they can tell us, if you notice, they're not telling us about deaths anymore, right? They're telling us, oh, we opened up some city, blah, 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 and oh my gosh, the disease is blossoming out everywhere. What they're telling you is they're testing more people, and people are contracting the virus, but they're not getting sick and dying from it, okay? That's like any virus. At some point, people are immune, or the numbers are going up because we're doing more testing, and because this is probably a highly contagious virus, but it just is not that deadly. Now, I can't completely explain why the Chinese went down so bad and why the Italians went down so bad. There's a couple potentials for that. But I will tell you this about viruses. One of the things that happens in viruses, and in lots of things, viruses are constantly doing little mutations. This is a man-made pathogen. I can send you if anybody wants references, I'll be glad to give you all the references on this, Mike. But the real argument is you'll see a lot of confounding stuff out there. But the fact is, it's hard for me to see it any other way when you really look at the way the virus is put together, what they're finding in the virus. You can't say it's not man-made just because parts of it happen to be in a bat. It doesn't work that way. You have to say how you could possibly get these cleavage things or all the different things they're finding, but it's man-made. So what happens is there's two things. One is that as diseases pass through generations of hosts, we're the hosts, humans are the hosts, that kills the people. If it's a really deadly virus, the deadly virus strain kills people and doesn't spread. And so as time goes on, the virus gets weaker and becomes just everyday virus, and like a cold. And that's what coronavirus is in nature. It's just like a cold. So I have a feeling one of the reasons that the Chinese and the people in Italy went down so hard initially is because this was a more deadly pathogen when it first came out. Whoever released it, I'm not going to get into that, but whoever released it, but it's calmed down since then. The deadly parts have gone away, and it's now not so deadly.
Well, do we know how many people died of this in China? China keeps saying it's the United. No, they keep telling us that it's not so bad where they are. The reports are that there's thousands of people dead in China, but they always act like, oh no, 400 or 500 maybe. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure they lost more than we did. We're over 100,000, but they just quit counting at about 60,000, I think. I can't remember. I was following it for a while, and then I realized they were just lying to us about that. But they didn't lie to us the doctors did not lie to us. There's kind of two levels of information that came out of China. Same thing with Italy. Pretty much everywhere. Same thing in the U.S. You've got doctors saying one thing, and then you've got the government saying another thing. So before we point fingers at China, we need to look at our own CDC and FDA and our bureaucrats and our congressional leaders and everything, because they're lying to us too. They just do it differently than the Chinese, and it's very convenient to always point at a foreign enemy to take stress off you. But yeah, we know that they lost a lot of people. But still, if you look at, let's take Iowa. I just looked at the numbers in Iowa. The numbers in Iowa are lower than flu rate deaths. Okay, we've lost, I think, 600 people in Iowa. Okay, we have 3.2 million or something like that. It's not. And actually Oxford in England looked at a study of children, and the chance of dying from this virus in children is less than children being hit by lightning. How many children do you know killed by lightning?
I don't.
That's really, it's like winning the lottery. You have to look at the real numbers here, and we're just not doing that. So the number one is that your chance of dying from this is low. Now, the second thing I've been saying all along, if you remember way back, I said we need to be looking at these people that are very seriously ill, and who are they? Why are they different than you and me? Because I think a lot of us have had it and just didn't know it. And the answer seems to be now that the Indonesians did a study with over 700 people, and they showed that if your vitamin D level is above 30, 30 is the magic number. It's like nanograms per deciliter, so I have to remember that, 30. That your chance of getting sick and dying from this is almost zero. I mean, it's very, very low. So the chance, so how do you get your D level above 30? You have to take a supplement. The sun just won't do it by itself. But if you take 5,000 international units a day at least, you'll get above 30. I take 10,000, and I've taken 10,000 for years, and my level's 55. So it takes a bunch to bump it up. Sunlight won't do it above the equator. So, and the other thing is, it looks like people with type A blood, people that have hypertension are more at risk. And we do know that the influenza vaccine gives you more risk of getting coronavirus. It doesn't necessarily, I don't know anything that shows that it gives you a more deadly scenario. I don't think it does. It just gives you more of a chance of acquiring the virus. And the other one is we don't know about certain types of medications associated with hypertension, the ACE inhibitors. They may be, there's been a lot of information being man-made, constructed to deny any link to pharmaceutical companies, so we just don't know about that. What I can tell you also, we know for sure, though, is that masks don't work. Masks, I didn't know, and I'll be honest, this is something that I had either forgotten or never knew, but masks work for big particles like tuberculosis. That's kind of a big globular particle. But I can't find one study in the scientific literature that shows that masks work for viruses. So anybody who's wearing a mask, just keep in mind, it's only, as Tony Fauci just admitted, symbolic. Don't you love it? After all this time, so is distancing. He didn't say that's symbolic, but that's the next thing to come out. The big lie is starting to fall apart, and they just can't keep people doing this stuff. More people are understanding the science here and saying, what are you talking about with these masks? My favorite is the fact that these masks with a little Twinkie valve in them, or the NIOSH masks that actually do help strain out cement particles, those are one-way valves. So, yes, you might strain out some cement particles with them or keep bugs out of your face, but when you breathe out, you're breathing all over everybody. So Costco is just insane for demanding masks. But there you have it. I know that. The other things that have been shown to make a difference are zinc, selenium, and vitamin C. And again, we've gone over the levels of that before. But the reason I'm telling you all this is not the last pathogen to come around. They're going to do this again. Like FDR said, if it happened, it was meant to happen. So really, what's this all about? And I don't mean to get too deep in the rabbit hole, but I just want to point this out. This is something I became aware of this last couple of weeks. You know that eight billionaires in the world own more than the bottom 50% of the entire world. 8 guys, okay? 6 of them are in the U.S. And the number one, sometimes number 2, depending on what Bezos is doing, is Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates and these guys have some agenda. But if you think they're really concerned about us, years ago there was a pretty good thing. George Carlin, before he died, he said you need to just think about why the world is the way it is, and it's because we're owned. We have politicians that are put out there to give you the illusion that you have some say in your future world, but they're not really in charge. Yeah, that's right.
That is a laugh.
Billionaire.
Yeah.
Right. The billionaires own the important land. They own the corporations. They buy off the Senate and the Congress and the judges.
I was
going
to
say,
all
the media companies.
They own the Democrats and the Republicans.
Right. And here's what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want people that start to question their vaccine programs or start to think about, why they're getting paid. They're accepting a lower standard of living when these guys are getting richer and richer, because that's the kind of thing that leads to revolution. What these guys want are obedient workers to keep the world running at a certain level that's comfortable for them, enough to buy their products and keep them uber wealthy.
Right.
That's really That's really it. And so think about it. What do they want? There's multiple of these guys on record saying we need to diminish the world's population, including Bill Gates, whose 9 companies are all developing a vaccine for this. Now, there's never been a safe vaccine for an RNA virus. This is an RNA virus. There's never been a safe vaccine for this. The previous SARS, which was probably man-made too now that I think about it, but I can't prove that. I don't know really that much about that one. But SARS was more deadly, but not as contagious. But SARS scared the Asians, I know, and it was not pleasant. So they tried to make a vaccine, and we tried to make a vaccine. Now, in this country, we tested the vaccine on cats because cats get a coronavirus. Chickens get a coronavirus. Bill Gates' company owns the patent on a novel coronavirus like this one that they were checking against chickens, theoretically. Well, they tried a vaccine on the cats in this country, and the side effect was sudden catastrophic death. That's a big side effect. And it has to do with a thing called immune enhancement, which I won't go into. But in China, I hear this, I haven't proven this, but this is rumored that they tried it on humans. And I honestly think the reason that we saw this 5-to-1 male to female ratio initially in China, and the reason we saw these young men dropping over face down on the street, is those might have been military recruits where they tested the SARS vaccine. Now, the conclusion from this was, do not skimp on animal testing. Back in 2005, when this all happened, the people that are the virologists, people that do these research, basic science stuff, they said, do not skip on animal testing. So what's happening today? Tony Fauci, who's the head of the NDAID, which is part of the NIH, and he's a big guy with Bill Gates. Tony Fauci is the chairman of the Decade for Vaccine Council. That's a nice name. Anyway, so he has a proprietary interest in pushing vaccine, and he has allowed Moderna, which is Gates' company, that came up with this new vaccine in several months, which has never been done. He's allowed them to bypass animal testing and go to the first phase of human testing. So they're doing exactly what they said not to do in 2005. Personally, I'm not comforted by that. Added to the fact, they're talking about mandating vaccines, and they're talking about the last thing I heard, which I got to trace down what's really happening here, is that you'll have a immunity passport. You're going to have part of your passport says that you've been either somehow you can demonstrate immunity to certain things, or you can't get across the border. Now, you see where this is going. Oh, this is ugly. Besides the fact you're hearing about digital money more and more, right? We don't want money because money transfers disease. Trust me, this is uglier than anything I could have possibly believed. I used to believe this was all about greed, but it is about world control. And I just want to point out that Gates is on record saying we have too many people. We should diminish the world's population. Prince Philip said he wants to come back as a germ so that he can kill 90% of the world's population. These guys have gone on record saying they want to diminish the population. And they want to give you a mandatory vaccine. I just want people to keep that in mind, no matter what you thought of the measles vaccine or whether or not you thought these are just crazy anti-vaxxers ranting about this. It's the real deal here. So if you don't believe that vaccines can be manipulated, and I'm going to tell you the other thing I know for a fact is that most doctors don't know what's been put in the vaccine they give to you. I know that. Squalene adjuvant, which has been which I think clearly the study shows caused the Gulf War syndrome, has been put back into the flu vaccine. They took it out for years saying, oh, no, we don't use that, boom. A couple of years ago, they put it in flu ad, but they labeled it MF59. They didn't tell you it was squalene. And how many people even know what squalene is anyway? This is the kind of stuff they do. And the final thing I'm going to leave you with on this vaccine issue is, if anybody wants to know, there has been a hue and cry over the years about, having some kind of universal ID, your bio, ID or whatever that's with you. Well, there's another Gates project is ID 2020. Their motto is from birth to death, and they're talking about the invisible tattoo quantum dot. It's basically an injectable little microchip and they're using it in I think Bangladesh right now is trialing this with Bill Gates' company, and what they're doing is when they get their childhood vaccines, they're also given this little microchip that will be traceable, that will be your ID is stored in the bank in Zurich somewhere, and you will be seriously it's a Zurich or a Swiss genetic base. And you're going to have a biometric ID in that base, these kids will, that follows them around the world. So presumably the party line why they're doing this is so these poor refugees, no matter where they go, will always have an ID. But the real thing is they could follow anybody they want. And if you don't get your vaccine, because it's not, you can't prove with your implantable ID that you've had their vaccine that they want to give you, we won't let you buy food in our digital money system. That's what they potentially do. So, I think this virus is over. People, and I have a very good friend, Vietnam vet, and he's gone from being in his house, independent, driving around, doing normal life stuff, to being huddled in his house. He survived a year in Vietnam, but this thing has terrorized him. And now he's in a nursing home because he got dehydrated because he couldn't get out. There's a cost to people for this isolation. This symbolic mask that Fauci made us wear has separated us from our family, our friends, our medical people, our neighbors, and this social distancing, same thing. Not to mention the fact that people can't go to church, and they're just now opening up the churches. It's still hard to find restaurants that'll take you. You want to talk about controlling a population. All the things they're doing is for population, can be used for population control. And maybe other people who are not as paranoid as me won't think that's what it's about. But it's hard for me to believe otherwise because I know it's not the virus at this point. When Sweden is open, and they never really closed down, and they're doing fine. All these other countries, India only has 6,000 deaths. Now, they may be undercounting some, but so are we in rural America. Are you really telling me that our brilliant guys at the CDC and all the money we shove into this technocracy in medicine couldn't have done better than what they did?
Oh, yeah. That's been my point all along. I mean, that there's something... There's something going on that with the medical community because they have no answers, only more and more demands, and that's it. It's 4:59. Our guest has been Dr. Lee Heeb. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much. It's 4:59. I want to thank you for listening today. It was a great day. This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Here's active health patient Carol Main.
I was having a lot of knee pain, and my doctor said I needed a total knee replacement. Then I heard about Active Health Clinic's alternative options for arthritis surgery. Just one simple injection in a 30-minute procedure sounded promising, so I had it done and noticed improvement in my knee within a few days. Now, 6 months later, I'm back to full use of my knee with no pain at all.
Don't settle for surgery. For your free consultation, call Active Health Clinics, Fort Dodge today.
Again, thanks for listening. The news is next. It's 5 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
It's everything digital on the Kim Komando Show every Saturday from 11 to 2 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Calling for change. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A key House committee holding a hearing on police reform.
Philonise Floyd is urging action after the death of his brother and other unarmed African Americans in police custody.
George called for help, and he was ignored. Please listen to the call I'm making to you now, to the calls of our family and the calls ringing out the streets across the world.
Floyd is one of several witnesses testifying for the House Judiciary Committee about police practices and oversight days after Democrats in Congress unveiled legislation that would prohibit the use of chokeholds and some no-knock warrants. Senate Republicans are also considering proposals to increase police accountability. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The personal information of police officers in departments across the country is being leaked online. That's according to a report from the Associated Press citing the Department of Homeland Security. The document from DHS warns that so-called doxing could lead to attacks by what they're calling violent opportunists or domestic violent extremists, or could prevent law enforcement from carrying out their duties. A California Sheriff's Department on the hunt for a man they say shot 2 people, including a deputy.
San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's officials said midday Wednesday they were still looking for an active shooter and that a shelter-in-place order was still in effect. They'd said earlier that a suspect with a gun had opened fire on Paso Robles police, and when their deputies responded, one was shot and injured. He was in serious but stable condition. Then later on, the sheriff's office put out a statement saying they found an adult male victim who'd been killed near a train station. He was found shot in the head, and they believe the 2 shootings are related. Residents on social media reported hearing gunshots after midnight all the way through 4 a.m. and later hearing helicopters circling as they searched for the suspect. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
NASCAR banning the display of the Confederate flag at events. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 833-8-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 833-8-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. A former Webster County sheriff has passed away. Chuck Griggs passed Tuesday at 80 years old. He served in the position as sheriff for over 20 years after he was elected for the first time in 1980. In the early 80s, Griggs helped to create the Webster County Crime Stoppers program. He also was instrumental in establishing an enhanced emergency dispatch system in the late 80s. Prior to becoming sheriff of Webster County, he worked in the Fort Dodge Police Department for over a decade. He also was a U.S. Navy veteran. The Calhoun County Board of Supervisors released a statement Wednesday morning regarding temporary safety measures they are continuing to implement at the courthouse. The County Board of Supervisors has decided to continue with a soft open of the Calhoun County Courthouse through June 26th. County departments will be open by appointments only during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. They ask that visitors please use the south entrance to the courthouse when entering for their appointments. During this period, the doors will be locked at the courthouse. Business will be conducted by appointment only. Drop box use and electronic contact is encouraged. Upon arrival, customers will call the respective office that they need to be admitted to. Visitors must leave immediately after their business is complete. Community and Family Resources, or CFR, has their Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training coming up this Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. Here's Mickey Shubin from CFR on what that training will entail.
2 full days of kind of intense material, but you really get a chance to openly talk about how to talk to somebody if you feel like they are having thoughts of suicide or hurting themselves.
Shubin says the training will equip attendees with different tools and teaches them how to approach people who are suicidal.
You get some tools on different ways to approach somebody. It's really helpful to be very direct.
Shubin went on to talk about another thing that those that attend will receive.
The trainers will be giving everybody a comprehensive list of local resources, and then also some of the national, state, all of that type of thing. Anybody that attends a training will have that list.
For more information, contact CFR at 515-576-7261. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. You jump in. We'll talk about your life and your money. My co-host here on the show today, Rachel Cruz, Ramsey personality, #1 best-selling author multiple times, and we're here to answer your questions about life and money. The phone number, 888-825-5225. 888-825-5225. Lee starts off this hour in Rhode Island. Hey, Lee, how are you?
Hi, Dave. Oh, my gosh. I told myself I wasn't fangirl, but I'm fangirling a little.
Hey, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you speak directly into your phone, please?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, try again. What'd you say?
Okay. I said I wasn't fangirl, but I'm fangirling right now.
Well, we're honored. Thank you. How can we help?
Okay, so I was told I have a very unique situation. Last year, I actually got divorced, but I recently moved back in with my ex-husband, and we're doing really well. Pretty much, he's treating everything like nothing ever happened. We got married under God, so we're still married. And I'm like, well, maybe we should, get legally married again, so that way we can put, finances together. But he's like, no, I like it the way it is because, we split the finances and everything, and he'll only marry me if I buy him a $50,000 car.
Are you kidding?
No.
So you are attracted to someone that would not marry you unless you bought them a $50,000 car?
Well, because he says that if I really loved him, because after the whole divorce thing, that this would, prove that I'm, committed or whatever. I'm not sure.
Oh, I see. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay.
Lee, this guy's terrible. Why did you get divorced? 2 years ago when you guys got divorced? What was the reason for that? Was it you or him?
Me.
Why?
Infidelity,
yeah. And the reason he doesn't want to get legally married to you again, he's saying is because of the money. And I'm going to bet probably something else. So, Lee, I think that your instincts, first off, were right. I'm telling you, if my husband, if we were in our serious relationship about to be married, and he said, in order to marry me, you're going to have to buy me a $50,000 car, I would say, well, enjoy the $50,000 car because I'm leaving and you're not going to be getting that. That's, Lee, there's a lot of dysfunction there. Do you know that? Do you understand that?
Oh yeah. I told him, I go, I don't know why you need a $50,000 car because he's been on this.
Why does he need a $5,000 car for you to marry him? The $50,000 isn't the point though. It's there's an asset there that he's asking for. Do you get that part?
Yeah. He says that it has to be $50,000 because he's worth $50,000, and I put him through a lot of stress and everything. So yeah. I'm I don't have that money, so.
Okay, let me stop you, okay, kiddo. Here's the thing. You need to go see a good pastor and a good marriage counselor and start to get some help. Okay? Due to the infidelity, you running around on him, you got divorced, and you feel really guilty for that, and now he's using that to manipulate you. And so you guys are a serious pair of mess here. There's no way that this is going to end in a positive situation without a lot of help. And you've got to, he's got to understand what forgiveness is. You have to understand how to accept that forgiveness if he were to give it, and forgive yourself for the mistakes you made in the past, and start with a clean slate and on equal footing and move forward. But there's no possible way you put up a dowry to marry this guy. That's just asinine. That's just ridiculous. And if you were my daughter, this is what I would tell you, okay? I would say, honey, pick up your stuff and go get you an apartment today. Go see a marriage counselor, and if you guys go through some in-depth marriage counseling together and can work through a healing of your relationship, maybe you talk about getting remarried after that, but it certainly won't involve you giving him anything of value in return for your guilt or your regret or to prove your love or any other BS. Now, let me tell you what I think. I think you're not going to do any of that because you're a mess, girl. And so I wish you would. I love you, and I want you to have good things in your life. And very few people in your life are telling you the truth. They don't care enough about you to tell you the truth. And I'm telling you the truth. You need to get out of there today. This is a twisted sister mess, and it's not going to end in a 50-year marriage with you two sitting on the front porch with grandkids around your feet. It's not going to end that way. You don't have a basis for that. You don't have a foundation for that. Now, could it end up there if you go through the steps I'm telling you to go through? It's possible, but it's not likely because I think he's lacking in character. And like Rachel said, this is a guy you need to run from. But if you don't run from him and you want to move out and seek some counseling and try to rebuild the relationship on a solid emotional foundation, then you can do that. Now, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm not a family counselor. I'm just an old guy who's seen a lot of crap and a lot of crappy people do crappy stuff to each other and hurt each other in the process. So,
and in that, like you're saying, that there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt,
yeah,
a lot of lack of forgiveness. There's a lot of human qualities there that are very, very evident. And in order to make the relationship right, take the money stuff out of it completely. But focusing there just on that relationship